Woods.
I don't think I have to interpret those statements for you. They kind of speak for themselves.
The point I was making was not that my grandmother harbors any racial animosity. She doesn't, but she is a typical white person.
When ignorant folks want to advertise their ignorance, you don't really have to do anything. You just let them talk.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
The United States continues to wrestle with the legacy of race. And
I forgot he was black tonight for an hour.
I don't think I have to interpret those statements for you. They kind of speak for themselves.
Senator Reid was wowed by Obama's oratorical gifts and believed that the country was ready to embrace a black presidential candidate, especially one such as Obama, a, quote, light-skinned African-American, quote, with no Negro dialect unless he wanted to have one.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
So it's a Friday, and that means it's open phones, which means anything goes, which means you can change the topic and interrupt me if you want to. That'd be fine. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. This guy didn't have a gun, but he was stopped by someone who did. Let's go. So most everybody's heard about this by now, right? All right, if you didn't, we're going to go to Oklahoma right now, where apparently someone was beheaded. And I hate to do this in the discussion, but I had to sort of define, what do you mean by beheaded, as in their head was taken all the way off? Or, because you could technically say a decapitation is when someone was hit and their spine was severed, but you can't walk away separately with the head. I'm not trying to be gross here. I'm just trying to define what this is. But here is the story now. Police say a woman was beheaded in Oklahoma in the workplace. This has been on the news all day. A man fired from an Oklahoma food processing plant beheaded a woman with a knife and was attacking another worker when he was shot and wounded by a company official, police said. So first off, just for the record, so we can get this out, for the record, up front right now. Okay, the guy that did the attacking did not have a gun. Okay, for you gun control advocates out there. But the guy who did the beheading and was attacking somebody else was stopped by a man with a gun, a coworker who had a gun. Can we get that out of the way? So for the gun control people out there, just stop and think for a minute. Thank God somebody was on site who had a concealed carry permit and was able to do something about this. Okay, so who is this guy? Now, understand, whenever I take a look at a story like this, I always stop and hesitate and wait a bit. And folks, it's just because I've been in the news business long enough. Normally, when a story is first breaking, the first things you hear tend to be wrong. Well, there's a lot of confusion out there, and there are reporters rushing to get the story up as fast as they possibly can. And so mistakes are made. That's why you hear conflicting information. It also kind of gets the tin-headed conspiracy theorists going, because the tin-headed conspiracy theorists take a look at all of the conflicting information, and to them that means, well, that's obviously because a conspiracy is going on. And no, it was just wrong information that came out. That, okay, apparently this guy converted to Islam. So the story goes so far. At this point, we don't know. This is just what we're hearing so far. He converted to Islam. Got it? Okay. After converting to Islam, apparently he was trying to convince some other co-workers to convert to Islam, and they weren't going for it. And so, oh, by the way, he had a Muslim greeting tattooed on his chest. Says one story from one news organization. So, okay, he beheads one woman and is attacking another one with a knife when a coworker drew his weapon, concealed carry permit, and all right. Mr. Moore, police sergeant, Moore's the town, Moore Police Sergeant Jeremy Lewis said police are waiting until the 30-year-old man is conscious to officially arrest him. So he's 30 years old. The attack, they've been getting help. The FBI has been from co-workers who've been talking about the man. man who the Associated Press is not naming because he has not been officially charged. So we'll just leave it there for now. The Associated Press is saying, yes, the woman was actually beheaded with the knife. So, okay, that answers that question. That's the first one I had. Decapitation, complete beheading. All right. I'm sorry, this is kind of gross and disturbing, but all right. There is a name other news organizations have named this guy as Anton Nolan. Again, just to kind of put that information aside because we don't know until, again, things calm down and we have all of the details. Okay, so quoting here, this was not going to stop if he didn't stop it. And by that, they mean the gentleman who pulled his gun and put a stop to everything. So the suspect and the guy who had been stabbed are hospitalized in stable condition. Oklahoma Department of Corrections show the suspect had multiple, apparently religious tattoos, including references to Jesus and Muhammad. And in Arabic was written on his chest, you're going to love this, in Arabic was written on his chest, peace be with you. Really, that's his definition of peace, I guess. Lewis said the suspect had been fired and had been building a house, the company's resource officer said, and that immediately, they maybe had driven him crazy again. We'll get those details later. Drove to the entrance of the business. He didn't know why he was fired, he said. Okay. The company was shocked then that he had turned back up and saddened by the whole thing, obviously. So that's where we are right now. Okay, so a guy who had been fired and apparently had converted to Islam and was trying to convert others to Islam in his company. I wonder if he was fired because he was not working and going around trying to convert everybody to Islam. I don't know. We weren't there. Beheads one coworker, was stabbing another one, and thank God someone with a concealed carry permit was on the premises and was able to take him down. That's what we know at this time, and that's it. And again, you're going to hear a lot of rumors and conspiracies in this story. Put it all aside for now. No, seriously, put it all aside for now until the details are settled. I guarantee you there's reporters out there rushing to get the story out as fast as they can. FBI investigators claim Oklahoma beheading suspect, and this is from another story, try to convert others to Islam. And I'd like to hear more details about that. More Oklahoma sheriff said, this is this afternoon, they've released the following statement. Today, my thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends of the innocent victim who was murdered and the second innocent victim who was injured in the violent knife attack. They were heinous criminal acts that were ended quickly because of a, again, man with a concealed weapons permit on the time. All right. So I don't want, you know what I think this honestly is? Maybe the guy did. I'm just going to guess here. I'm just thinking out loud. You tell me what you think. All right, here's the number. 307-363-4093 is the number. That's 307-363-4093. My answer to this is, I'm just considering this a nutball. Okay, maybe he converted to a religion or something like that. But in general, I'm just considering this to be some nutball that was fired from his job. And usually using something that ISIL will do, like beheading somebody, was just the way he decided to go crazy. I mean, if you want to consider this a homeland terrorist attack, what I consider to be a real terrorist attack is, okay, in Texas, we have a member of our own military who had converted to Islam, and remember that one? And was in the mess hall shooting people, shouting Allahu Akbar. But this guy had been radicalized and had been a Muslim for quite some time and had been complaining about having to go to war against fellow Muslims. He was not newly converted and possibly suffering from other disorders at the time. Again, we'll find out. We'll get more information as it comes in from Oklahoma. But thank God there was a man with a gun on the scene. And to me, I know some people are not going to like me going there, but frankly, I don't care. To me, this is one more case as to why it is important to have honest citizens carrying. Concealed carry, open carry, don't care. Latest from Fox News, FBI officials are investigating the beheading of an Oklahoma food distributions at a food distribution center after co-workers say the suspect tried to convert them to Islam after his recent conversion. The alleged suspect, now they are naming him, Anton or Alton, is it Alton? A-L-T-O-N, Nolan, 30 years old, was recently fired from the company on Thursdays when he was fired. See, I think it has more to do with his outrage from being fired than anything else. Okay. There was a hero in the situation, according to local police. It could have been a lot worse. Again, that's the guy with the gun. Nolan was apparently attacking employees at random, authorities say. The motive for the attack is unclear, but FBI, I think this is just what put him over the top. Well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but converting to Islam, first off, shows, in my mind, in this case, a state of instability. And then he gets fired and he just goes over the top. They say that he was arrested. They're investigating, checking into his background. If they officially arrested him, that means he's awake, according to the police in the area. The police department issued a statement saying, after conducting interviews with Nolan's co-workers, information was obtained that he recently started trying converting employees to the Muslim religion due to the manner of death and the initial statements. Co-workers and other initial information said the Moore Police Department requested the assistance of the FBI in order to continue the investigation. Okay. Saad Mohammed is a spokesman for the Islamic Society of Greater Oklahoma. He told the local news station there that leaders of the Society Mosque are taking security precautions. Oh, Lord, I hadn't even thought about that. I hadn't even thought about that. Think about this now. If you were the imam at a local mosque and this had happened in your town, you can imagine there's people out there who would think, well, we got to get some retribution and head over to the local mosque. And okay, he said anti-Muslim sentiments from local residents, well, will be heightened because of this. They have nothing to do with ISIS, he says. They have nothing like that on their minds. This guy was, has brought it to America, they said on their website. Lewis says he does not know what charges will be filed. How about murder? We'll start with that. More police department officials have released the 9/11 calls from the incident, so apparently you can hear that online as well. All right. So that's where we are right now with this story. I will be real curious now that this guy apparently, well, they weren't going to name him until he was awake. Well, apparently if they've named him, he's awake now. To hear more about what the murderer has to say. All right. Now, on that note, since we were talking about some guy who claims, well, he hadn't claimed anything. On that note, let's take a look at the My Made in America store. How about that for a segue? Take a look at over my shoulder if you're watching by video. There is a beautiful flag there, and it says on it United States Army 1775 with their logo up there. Beautiful white flag with blue and red on it. Stuff like that is at My Made in America store, including cooking supplies, shoes, shirts. What do you need? If it's 100% made in America, they have it at My Made in America store. Just look that up online. That's all you have to do. Type it in, My Made in America store, and your search engine will come up with it. Everything on that site, 100% made in America.
Ancient Oriental tradition states that sapphire wards off evil and brings good fortune to its owner. This is Bruce at Marshall Jewelry here in Gillette, and sapphire is the birthstone for September. Did you know that sapphire occurs in every color but red? When it's red, it's ruby. Blue has long been the most popular color, and here at Marshall Jewelry, we have a large selection of rings, earrings, and necklaces. Prices start at under $200 with lots of pieces costing less than $400. In both yellow and white gold. We even have some Yogo sapphires on hand. For the best selection of prices, shop at Marshall Jewelry, where she'll love it guaranteed.
Empire Guesthouse RV Park and General Store, also known as The Great Escape, would like to invite you to their place in Pine Haven, where the customer is always first, and they're in the business of selling fun. Whether you're looking for bait and tackle, water toys, camping or boating supplies at Keyhole, RV sites with full 50-amp hookups, or awesome cabin rentals 5 minutes from the water, be sure to stop in. Free popsicles for the kids. Give them a call today, 307-756-3454 at 115 Pine Haven Road, Pine Haven.
For weekly fishing reports, like them on Facebook.
Yeah, it seems the Higgs transponder flagellated your subwell drive and capacitated your moron circuit.
Does your mechanic speak another language?
So I figured we reversed the polarity on the latch trigger and transposed the Weller circuit, and that should do it.
Some mechanics take advantage of the fact that you can't speak or understand them.
Yep, this is going to do it, but it's going to be expensive.
But at Ideal Auto, we speak your language.
This broke. Me fix. Affordable.
Now, anybody can understand that. Get your car repaired with the people who speak your language. Ideal Auto, 2901 Dogwood Avenue, Gillette, Wyoming, 307-686-2259.
Welcome to the Church of Global Warming.
Sorry, I just came in to get out of the cold. You don't mind, do you?
Well, you know, the cold outside is due to global warming.
Wait, wasn't this the same church that said that this part of the world was going to be a sandy desert by now?
Global warming works in mysterious ways.
Right, kind of like God works in mysterious ways.
Hey, careful how you talk about the Obama.
You know, I think I'll just wait outside and suffer in the driving blizzard. Besides, it's freezing cold in here.
That's because global warming froze over the wind turbine blades in the clouds, and snow and ice cover the solar panels, you idiot!
Hello. Yes, I think Glenn is going to take your call next, but don't call him Glenn. He wants to be called Pasty White Guy. Oh, no, he takes it as a compliment. Trust me. Wait, here we go.
Back to the show. Back to Glenn Woods.
By the way, since it is a Friday edition of the radio show, you can change the subject all you want. Interrupt me if you have to. That's fine. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. Or if you're someone who's listening to me by video stream, there's supposed to be a box right there. If it's not, click on the link. The box comes up. And you can leave questions and comments and snotty remarks, and I answer them as soon as I can answer them. Now, I'm going to move away from the beheading incident in Oklahoma unless we get more news in. But if you have something to say about it, go back to that. That's not a problem. We'll pick up the topic again. Interesting story out of Colorado. And at first, when I read this, I went the wrong direction with it. Here's the headline. Pot draws homeless to Colorado. That was the first part of it. Now, I looked at that, and the story goes on to talk about how the homeless shelters in Colorado are filling up. So you think, oh, well, then you don't want to legalize pot in whatever state you're in. You don't want to legalize pot in my state because all these homeless people are going to show up looking for pot. Then you read into the story. The reason the homeless people are showing up, according to the story here, is they are looking for work. Yeah, hold on now. Okay, does that mean that if you legalize pot in your state, I know I'm going too far with this, but okay, let's just take a look at it. According to the story, people are going to Colorado, mainly Denver, but going to Colorado and filling up the homeless shelters, and then in the daytime they go out and fill out applications at the local pot shops so they can make a living selling marijuana legally. Interesting. We may have just found a way to get some of these lazy people off their duffs and get them employed. Now, some of these people, I'm just guessing here, have been, they're probably very good pot salesmen. What do you want to bet? They've been selling pot since high school. I'm kind of guaranteeing you they've been selling pot since high school. Some of them college at the latest. So they're already good salesmen. They know what they're doing. Now they can just do it out in the open. I didn't see the other side of that story coming. Here's the story. Denver, CBS 4. Legal marijuana is luring pot tourists, for one, and businessmen, entrepreneurs, and employees to Colorado. It's attracting another demographic, the homeless, some who trek to the state to land a job in the industry. Why hadn't we thought about this before? Even a homeless movement, so to speak, said David Spencer, a homeless man from Tennessee. He says, I figured this would be the place to start all over again. And while the shelters across the metro area are willing to open their doors, they're quickly running out of room. We're averaging, this is a quote here, 190 homeless as of last year. We're now averaging about 345 a night, according to Murray Flagg of the Salvation Army. Okay, the executive director of St. Francis says the top reason many are moving to Colorado is work, especially in the now newly legal industry. I just didn't see this coming. Quoting here, people see that the marijuana business has been flourishing for years, he says, so they match up with good business and jobs are available. I'm telling you guys, I've said this before, it's obvious this and the snack food industry will take off. But here's a bunch of people. Did you ever see the commercial, marijuana commercial? It's one of my favorites. There's a guy who's obviously in his late 20s, early 30s maybe, sitting around his bedroom smoking pot with a friend. And then you hear his mother yell from another room, and did you even go out and look for a job today? And the guy's answer is, well, you know, I would talk to this one guy, and the guy said, and that's the end of the commercial. And it's an anti-pot smoking commercial. In other words, if you continue to smoke pot, this is where you're going to wind up. You're going to be like 30 years old, still living in your same bedroom that you grew up in, just kind of lounge. That's what the commercial was trying to push on people. Okay, now, what if at that point the phone rang, and mom walked into the other room and said, it's Denver calling. They want to hire you at the local, what do you call them, these shops now anyway? Can't call them dispensaries or anything like that. One quote here, we've seen as many as 45 new people a day, homeless people looking for work. I think it was one of the unintended consequences of legalizing marijuana. Colorado law requires an employee in the marijuana business. Now, this is the problem. This is where they're going to come across a problem. Well, it's nice that homeless people are moving to Colorado to get a job in the pot industry. That's cool. Unfortunately, and this is what Colorado has to change, Colorado law says that you have to live in the state for a year, a whole year, before you're allowed to sell marijuana in the state. Now, I don't know why that's in the law. And as far as I'm concerned, an employee is an employee. I got one more question about that. All right. If you're working in the restaurant business and certain other industries, they want you to sample the food so you know what you're selling. If you work in the wine industry, they want you to sample the wine so you know what you're selling. You see where I'm going with this? So I'm just curious here now. I mean, in any other business, you're supposed to sample what you're selling. So I got to know then, are people in the pot industry, are they working at the stores in the hopes, not that they're just going to be around the stuff, but they get free samples of the stuff to take home so they know what they're going to sell? I have no idea how that works, but I figure if you own a pot shop somewhere in Denver, you're going to want your employees to sample the goods now and then. All right. An unintended consequence. Homeless people showing up in Colorado to get jobs selling marijuana. Did you see that? I didn't see that coming. Did you see that coming? I really didn't see that coming.
59% of rape cases and 36.2% of murders in the United States are never solved. In 2011, less than half of all violent crimes found any resolution. It sort of makes you wonder, why are so many violent criminals walking free? I'm Alex Kreit, professor of criminal law. To start, let's take a look at New York City. Since Michael Bloomberg has been mayor, police have spent 1 million man-hours working 440,000 arrests for, get this, marijuana possession. That's a lot of police busting parties instead of tracking down violent criminals. This goes beyond any one city or state. Nationwide, we would save $41.3 billion every year by ending the war on drugs. That's tens of millions of man-hours in investigation, office work, and court appearances for drug cases. We're choosing to direct these law enforcement resources to crimes other than rapes and murders, only to end up arresting and incarcerating large numbers of non-violent offenders. Worse yet, the war on drugs doesn't even work. In the United States, 7 million people are under correctional supervision, many for drug-related charges. 81% of all drug arrests are for simple possession. That's millions of people in the system who never restrained, assaulted, killed, or abused another person. And despite the money and time spent, it's never been easier to buy drugs. Compare that to Portugal, which decriminalized the personal use of all drugs 12 years ago. Since then, there's evidence that their criminal justice system has become leaner and more efficient. They chose to treat addiction as an illness, not a crime, and to make a meaningful distinction between violent and non-violent offenders. This has also, unsurprisingly, helped those most vulnerable to the harms of controlled substances by decreasing their use among children and lowering the number of new HIV infections. Who in our society is in pain, and how can we help them? We can direct more resources to prosecute violent offenders, actual criminals who leave behind victims and survivors. We can ensure every single victim of assault or sexual violence a full and credible investigation of their claims. Even if we disagree on the legal status of drugs, can't we make that guarantee to victims first? We should ask ourselves, who are the real victims of the government's war on drugs?
Facing mounting criticism that lethal injection is cruel and outdated, Ohio has replaced it with a system that quickly and humanely rips off the heads of death row inmates using powerful robotic arms. The new device is designed to be as humane as possible, emitting soothing white noise and putting prisoners on a cushioned seat before its metallic talons dig into their necks and painlessly wrench their heads off. Ohio Department of Corrections Director Gary Moore praised the machine, saying, quote, "Our new system is a hallmark of compassion. Now these deaths will be pain-free because the machine's claws are coated with topical anesthetic." Quickly pulling off a prisoner's head is considered less cruel than lethal injection, which requires 3 separate chemicals to first stop the prisoner's breathing, then paralyze their muscles, and then finally induce cardiac arrest, while this new method of quickly crushing the detached head ensures a mercifully swift conclusion. The machine has already been used at Ohio's Granville prison, where yesterday it executed death row inmate Carl Ray Allen. Witnesses say his death was peaceful and relatively painless.
Mr. Allen was executed by head ripping off at 3 o'clock this afternoon. He died instantly. The machine was fast, very fast. I've never seen anything move that fast.
Psychologists believe the new method also eases the mental burden on prison employees. The head ripping off machine doesn't require an operator to flip a switch because it automatically kills anyone who sits in its chair. The machine also handles the prisoner's remains with dignity. And Ohio isn't the only state changing the way it handles capital punishment. Last month, Texas unveiled the Machinator, which humanely squishes up to 50 prisoners at once. And in Louisiana, death row prisoners can choose to become organ donors and have their guts sucked out through an industrial tube. Coming up next, is anything valuable buried in the woods behind my house? Our team of investigators finds out.
It's a Friday edition of the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods, and since it is Friday, that means we head on out to see Eric, who, of course, brings us our Nanny of the Week. Eric, I saw this one coming. This was a simple one to pick up. So we're going to go to which city, of course, in California for this? Well, your microphone's not on. Somewhere around there. He's got to go ahead and push the microphone button there. Nope, still not on. Something is missing there. And I'm checking on my end. And you might want to check to see if your video screen is also, that one's on too, besides, the Google Plus.
How's that? Is that coming through now?
Go for it. Now
there we go. Not in California, Glenn. We're up in Seattle this week, actually, for Nanny of the Week.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
It's in Washington.
As a Nanny of the Week, I thought we were on the same story.
It's San Francisco has also passed a similar rule, but this was Seattle this week their city council decided to impose a fine on any resident of the city that throws away food. They want everyone in the city to compost their leftover food. And of course, if you don't have access to a backyard or a compost bin, I guess that means you're just going to have a pile of smelly trash festering away in your kitchen, I suppose. I don't know.
Okay, I ran through a list of possible problems for this here. So let's see the problems here. Number one, that means that the garbage man is going to have to rip open my garbage bags to see what's in there.
That's one. Yeah, they've authorized the. Luckily in Seattle, the trash is all done by the city. They own the trash company, so they've authorized the people who collect the trash to basically go through and decide if they see more than 10% of any individual's trash or an apartment building's trash. If more than 10% of it, by their estimation, is food product, then they can fine you. If it's an individual, it's $1 per violation. So I think that's per piece of food. If it's an apartment building, the whole building gets a $50 fine.
Okay, now the next problem I see is, and I don't know because I'm not in that city, but do the garbage men still grab the cans and throw them in, or do they have those automated where there's just a driver and everything is automated to pick it up?
I don't know that one, Glenn. I don't live in Seattle either. It's been a while since I visited, and when I was there 3 years ago, I don't remember doing a lot of inspecting of the trash bins. But it's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah.
I just don't see you as a trash can digger kind of guy. So the next thing is, what if I do live in an apartment building and I have no place to compost and no place to mulch? That was my next thought.
Yeah, that's. I guess that's going to have to be solved on the part of the apartment building. I suppose they'll have to provide some sort of space for that to happen. I think the funnier thing is that you could be the best composter in the world. You could be the most conscientious composter out there, and you might compost all your food. But if all your neighbors in your apartment building don't do it, you're going to end up getting fined anyway because the whole apartment building gets fined. So that seems. I mean, if I'm a landlord, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be getting fined for this stuff anyway, so I'm going to raise the rents, to make up for so many fines per year. So you end up costing people, even the people that are actually complying with the rules, end up paying more, I think.
Okay, so of course, I just decided to dive deeper into it, Eric. So here we go. This means that the garbage man. I read the story. The garbage man is the guy who gives me the ticket. So I don't see a garbage man as a guy who really had, with all due respect, really had lofty career goals. Are we really going to deputize this guy?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening. We're deputizing garbage men to dig through your garbage and issue you a fine. It really is crazy. I mean, this thing, as you just said, I mean, you can sort of go as deep as you want with this. It's sort of an ongoing spiral of craziness because it just seems like there's this is well-intentioned, maybe. I mean, you can see where the intentions are here, but it just spirals out of control so quickly, especially when you consider a city of almost 1 million people in Seattle. I think it's 700,000 people in Seattle. Living in a relatively small space, I don't know where all that composting is going to happen. And then to add insult to injury, they just raised all their trash fees 5% in January. So now if you're living in Seattle, you're paying more to have your trash collected, and yet you're being told there's fewer things you can throw in the trash.
Okay, I got two more, because again, I really overthought this. I got two more for you. So, okay, let's say I decide not to pay the fine. Do they have the police show up and do like a Marine-style raid of my house, full battle rattle, or do the garbage men come in and raid my home wearing bulletproof vests and the helmets and all of that?
That's what I want to see. I want to see that one. I don't know. Whenever this happens for the first time, somebody in Seattle should give us a call and let us know, because I want to see that.
Instead of wearing like bulletproof vests and helmets, you figure they would put garbage lids on the front and back.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
I get arrested for that. What's then to prevent me from sneaking some garbage into my neighbor's yard?
Yeah, well, you end up maybe just throw it out your window onto somebody else's roof or something like that. I don't know. I suppose maybe we could just start dumping our garbage in the gutter again and call that our compost bin. Like they did in the Middle Ages, they would just dump all the garbage in the gutter. It's just not a sanitary environment, honestly. It sounds like they're asking for a lot of problems. If I was living in Seattle, if I was moving to Seattle, I would want a house with a garbage disposal on the sink, because then you just jam everything down there and flip it on, and all your problems go away.
These people are endlessly entertaining, Eric. Where do people follow your work?
Check us out at watchdog.org. We have a new Nanny of the Week every week. This one, it may seem obvious. We actually had 3 really good contenders this week, so maybe one of those will come back around next week. But check us out, watchdog.org.
As always, Eric, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Glenn. Really appreciate it.
You have a pool table and darts in your office?
Yeah, sure.
And how many TVs do you have playing sports events in your office?
Oh, I don't know, a bunch.
And you play beer pong in your office?
Doesn't everybody?
No!
Oh.
So you turned your office into a sports bar?
No! We turned the sports bar into the office.
The sports bar is now the office. The Office Saloon, 1400 North U.S. Highway 1416 in Gillette, on your way to the airport.
Driving is easy. It's just those surprise stops that get you in trouble. Farmers Union Insurance can be there to help you so you don't face those surprises alone. Whether it's your family car, business vehicle, or an RV or rental, or a whole fleet of vehicles, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent, Betsy Jones, can help you select the best protection. And when a surprise happens, their claims people are some of the best. So don't let a sudden stop leave you stranded. Betsy Jones is here to help with Farmers Union Insurance. You're never alone. That's their promise to you. Call Betsy Jones, 682-6520. 682-6520.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline McKinney, owner of Fast and Furious Detailing. Do you need your RV or toy hauler cleaned before summer? We will get it ready for you, so all you have to do is go have some fun. Or how about after summer fun, we can clean it up. We will even wash all of your bedding for you. Does your boat have dark film all around the outside of it? No problem. Fast and Furious Detailing is a full-service detailing company. We detail cars, SUVs, trucks, RVs, toy haulers, boats, ATVs, UTVs, and motorcycles. Fast and Furious Detailing hopes you can find everything you need. Our company is focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. With a variety of offerings to choose from, we're sure you'll be happy working with us. We're located at 5753 South Winland Drive, and our phone number is 307-682-2470.
Have you heard about the federal government's new Affordable Car Act? Well, since the Affordable Care Act is doing so well, I'll ignore that. We've decided to implement the Affordable Car Act. The Affordable Car Act mandates that you buy insurance for everything on your car. Oh, not just catastrophic insurance in case you get into a wreck like this. But no, you need to cover everything, whether you need it or not. Balding tire insurance, running low on gas insurance. That way you have to go through your insurance company every time you go to fill up your car. Running low on windshield wiper fluid insurance, windshield wiper replacement insurance, car wash insurance.
Wait a minute, isn't it cheaper if I just pay for all of this directly?
Are you kidding me? By making you pay for all of these things through your insurance company and through government bureaucracy, you'll save a ton of money, just like with the Affordable Care Act.
That doesn't make any sense.
The Affordable Car Act, now 5,000 pages of government-mandated automobile insurance regulation, and growing.
Do yourself a favor. Don't just listen to the show. See what Glenn's talking about at boldrepublic.com. There you can watch the show live on YouTube or download the show and listen to it later. Now let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Okay, so Eric from watchdog.org is always entertaining when he brings in his Nanny of the Week, and there were some good ones this week. That particular one was so hot that not only did I talk about it earlier in the week, but I've told you guys that I get to guest in the mornings on a Reno television station. They have me Skype in, if you will, this Google Plus thing that a lot of you guys are using. And that was brought up as a topic today. Now Eric brings it up again. That's a big, there's no way to enforce this thing. Okay, but now what about this? Your next nanny stater. This is endless stuff. Police, this is in Florida, want to perform warrantless beverage inspections on anybody visiting Florida beaches. Going to Holmes Beach, Florida, with help from new technology and federal grant money, which, by the way, we don't have the federal grant money, but okay. Well, we're in how much debt right now? Police are preparing to do warrantless searches on people's refreshments as they visit beaches in Florida. So now, the new passive alcohol detectors is what these are. And it's like a little, it's like Star Trek kind of stuff. In fact, for those people that are watching by video, I'll show it to you. For those listening on radio, I'll have to describe it. It's got like a yellow wand. It's got a tiny little square screen that is about the size of a watch screen. And you can wave this thing over top of a drink of some kind, and it will detect the alcohol in the drink. So what I want you to imagine now is you're on a beach somewhere in Florida. In this case, Holmes Beach. Beautiful place. And so here a cop comes by and wants to inspect, because you're not allowed to have open alcohol containers on the beach. It's illegal. Even sealed alcohol. No alcohol on the beach. Police are using it as an excuse to inspect anyone's beverage they choose. So they think they can walk up to someone without any kind of a warrant and wave that over, and lo and behold, this guy is drinking. You're not allowed to do that. The searches are facilitated by grant money from the federal government, which, by the way, is broke through the Click It or Ticket campaign, National Highway Safety Administration. So, in other words, what they're saying is, not only do we not want this on the beach, we don't want you guys drinking and driving. There's the excuse for, once again, the police just to come up to you, minding your own business, and check to see if you're doing something that they consider to be illegal. You are losing, little by little, your freedoms here, every step of the way. Police State USA is a website recently covered the program that paid for police checkpoints to be set up along roads, Highway 60, and so on in that area. That was about, remember that one was about collecting DNA samples from drivers? Now, in that case, what they were doing, they were trying to put it all off as if it was just something for a survey. And you didn't have to step your vehicle and allow them to swab you for a DNA test. That's what they were saying at the time. But once again, see, it's that's that camel's nose in the door. Once they start doing that, what's next? Once you let them get away with, you're on the beach somewhere, you're enjoying yourself, they're going to wave a wand over top of your... I enjoy the occasional cigar. So am I going to be someplace one day just sitting back enjoying myself, and a police officer is going to come up with some detection device just to make sure that the cigar doesn't contain anything illegal in it? Am I now guilty until they prove me innocent? We are not... Let me put it to you another way. Back in the old Soviet Union, and it still happens in many countries today, the police will stop somebody and ask for papers. Das papers? Okay. That we were shocked in America to find out that that was happening. That should never happen in a free country where you were just stop, may I see your ID, please. That's why it should never even be legal for that matter. Hey, you're going to pull over and license and registration, and we just want to make sure that you have insurance as well. They're just pulling people over at random. You're supposed to be able to travel around completely innocent until you've committed an obvious crime. That's the way a free country do.
causes millions of deaths every year. It's the #1 greenhouse gas. It's dihydrogen monoxide. The colorless, odorless chemical compound, which can cause death due to accidental inhalation, even in small quantities. Prolonged exposure can cause severe tissue damage, a major component in acid rain, soil erosion, floods, found in biopsies of precancerous tumor. Chemical companies use dihydrogen monoxide on our fruits and vegetables, and even give it to our livestock. You've seen it billowing from smokestacks and coal-fired power plants. It's in our air, our streams, our rivers, our lakes, and it fills the oceans. The #1 greenhouse gas, more deadly than CO2. Call your congressman today. Ask them to ban dihydrogen monoxide.
Welcome to the EPA game, where unsuspecting contestants find themselves facing instantly made-up rules and regulations and made-up fines that nobody could possibly pay. Let's meet today's contestants.
Hello, I'm Steve.
Hi there, Steve. I bet you had no idea that you would be on a game show today.
None at all. How the hell did you people get on my property? Where did you get all this game show stuff?
Now, Steve, no back talk. I don't want to make things worse. Let's spin the wheel and find out what environmental violation you're guilty of.
What the hell? You can't do that.
Well, it looks like you built a flower bed on a wetland.
What? This isn't a wetland?
It is now. Let's find out what sort of fine it's going to be. Excuse me while I put this blindfold on.
Are you going to throw darts?
Well, how else are we going to find out how much you owe, Steve? Whoa, look at that. You owe $78,000 a day until you come into compliance.
You can't do that. This is insane.
No, it's not insane. It's federal bureaucracy, Steve.
There's a difference?
No, not really. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show on a Friday edition. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, okay, I'm going to stay. I'm one more nanny stater. Well, maybe one more. I might have more next hour, but this one I've been wanting to get to for a while here. This is what Friday, for those who are new to the show, this is what Friday is all about. Friday is house cleaning day. And there's all these stories I wasn't able to get to, so I get to them as fast as I can on a Friday. So, title of the article, we have no liberty whatsoever. Outrageous example of out-of-control government and just flat-out tyranny. Of course, we have to go back to California. Well, there's certain places that when I say the name, you chances are know what kind of story you're going to get out of the place. Just what California needs, fewer wineries and smaller businesses. Let's just shut them down for any excuse that we can possibly find. So now, I'm not a drinker at all, so you know. But I've told you before many times about the family cabin in the Carolinas, and there are people up there that have opened up micro wineries. They used to sell tobacco. They used to grow tobacco. And they got rid of the tobacco plants, and they put in grapevines, and they make wine right there on the spot. And there's the big old farmhouse and big old barns, and you want to have a great time, you spend the weekend there. The farmhouse is now an inn. You get to see how they make the wine. They have big dinners and live music in the barns. It's really great. California does this too. And when you go there, you get to help them make the wine. People show up to spend the weekend at these places. They help pick the wine, the grapes. They help stomp the grapes. It's all part of a great movement. Some people just live in the area. And they show up because a lot of these wineries are really small family-run businesses. And they wouldn't be able to make it if they actually hired employees. So they just asked wine enthusiasts, hey, since we're not making that much money here, would you guys be willing just to show up and help us with the wine? And you get some free wine out of it. And sure, people come from all over to help out. Oh, you can't have that. No. Government says we can't have volunteers and interns any longer. This is what was I'm trying to think of what this was, 1776. Mr. Jefferson wrote, facing a government that is no longer protected life, liberty, and property. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new, okay, you know what I'm going with this. When government no longer protects this kind of stuff. So, okay, now it is illegal in California for these wineries to accept volunteers, or for that matter, customers who show up and pay to stay for the weekend and then pick grapes and help grow and stomp the grapes, which, by the way, I never could get over. Stomping the grapes with your bare feet, gross. Okay, can we have a machine do that? I mean, for those wine enthusiasts, I don't know, maybe it really adds some flavor for you guys, but I just never. California business seeking volunteers, this is from the article in front of me, for transport of food or community events, food pantry, whatever, don't volunteer, it's illegal. If someone in your California church or synagogue is confused about how to handle tax forms for this small business, don't help unless you want to charge him. It's breaking the law. But okay, so what they're talking about there is, let's say you're a member of a church and the church needs to do their bookkeeping. And so you decide to volunteer because you're good with bookkeeping. Oh, but no, you're not a licensed accountant, so you can't help them out. That would be the same. Let's just for the fun of it say that you live next door to some little old lady and she had to do her taxes and she didn't have the time. She couldn't do it herself, nor did she have the money to hire someone to do her taxes. So you volunteered and you went over to her house and did her taxes for her. Now in California, that would be illegal. You're not licensed for stuff. No. So by that standard, it's illegal to drive your own. Wait, let's take it to an extreme. Let's say your daughter had a babysitting job. I guess you're not allowed to drive her to the babysitting job unless you charge her for it. So it's difficult to imagine who the idiotic lawmakers who voted for this thought they were helping. Do they really presume hordes of Californians are going to really work like a 40 or 60-hour week and something like this? People who show up and do stuff like this are just helping out for a few hours. Sadly, even if California lawmakers wise up, the story ends unhappily for the wineries, which will close this year thanks to the state of California. And if you think that's good, well, there are some employees that they had, and they're now out of work. And some of those places were family-run businesses, and so the family-run businesses are out as well. So somehow California legislators once again thought they're doing something good. This probably has something to do with that word or phrase social justice, which means whatever they want to mean at the time. You know, it's probably going to happen in many cases. Some of these wineries, I know they would like to be located in California, and there's a lot of good reasons to locate in California. Will probably just pack up and take the business somewhere else if they can do it. Well, if you're outruled and regulated, like is happening in California, and then when you finally do make a profit, they tax the hell out of it, who's going to stay there? That's why businesses are leaving California and going somewhere else. All right, we dive into the second hour of the program after local stations do their news at the top of the hour thing. Here we go.
Hi everybody, I'm Bill Whittle, and this is The Firewall. Progressives. You really have to, well, not admire them exactly, but if not admire them, then at least grant them a grudging respect for the tenacity of their beliefs. Because unfortunately for them, the socialist utopia, which they talk about all the time, is a cryptid, which according to Wikipedia's serviceable definition is, quote, a creature whose existence has been suggested but has not been discovered or documented by the scientific community, unquote. Hey look, here's another example of a cryptid. It's called the Loch Ness Monster. Like the socialist utopia, the Loch Ness Monster requires a lot of magical thinking. Now, magical thinking is not wishful thinking. Sure would be cool if there was a Loch Ness Monster. That's wishful thinking. Magical thinking is the belief that belief can make things actually manifest themselves in the real world. Magical thinking not only dulls reason, it kills reason, because magical thinking is actually a form of anti-thinking. It's belief in something not because of evidence, but in spite of evidence. Now, for example, people who believe in the existence of the Loch Ness Monster will almost universally claim that it is the last of the plesiosaurs. Those are giant marine dinosaurs that definitely did exist millions of years ago. Like all dinosaurs, plesiosaurs are air breathers. So, in order to believe in the Loch Ness Monster, you have to believe that an air-breathing creature the size of a city bus lives under the surface of Loch Ness. Now, we conservatives too have beliefs, but our beliefs are not based on what we wish to be true, but rather what the evidence shows us to be true. We believe in the power of the free market, of individual effort and reward, and especially of the power of self-interest to make life better for everyone. So we too believe that there are bus-sized creatures that breathe air and live under the surface of the water, but the creatures we believe in are called whales. We believe in whales not because we want to believe in whales. We don't have to depend on a mystery wake in the distance or a blurry outline of what might be humps or maybe a tree trunk. Conservatives believe in whales because there are thousands of pictures of whales being taken every single day. We believe in the power of capitalism and the free market because there are billions of people that benefit from it every single day. And the evidence of that benefit, even and perhaps especially from former socialist economies like China and India, grows every single day. The fact that there are no pictures of the Loch Ness Monster, not one that's even close to the thousands of pictures of whales, tell those of us who do not believe in magical thinking something very important. And that is that whales exist and the Loch Ness Monster doesn't. Now, if you could print wealth instead of printing money, well, that would be a close-up of the Loch Ness Monster, but you can't print Cadillacs. You can only print what people use to buy Cadillacs, and the more you print, the less it's worth. If healthcare were free, well, that would be HD video of the Loch Ness Monster being petted on the head, but healthcare is not free. Healthcare is, in fact, very expensive, and if the government pays for it from your taxes, then the government controls it, which means they can turn off the health care that you pay for with your tax money anytime they want to. And if war were a big misunderstanding that could be resolved through open discussion, well, that'd be Nessie in a tank at SeaWorld. But it's not a misunderstanding. ISIS wants the world to pray to Allah 5 times a day, murder homosexuals, and keep women in tents indoors. We don't like that, so we're going to have to fight those people. Now, progressives, to be fair, say that the history of socialism isn't just the Great Terror of the French Revolution or the millions killed in the purges and enforced famine of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics or the mass starvation of maybe 50 million Chinese peasants in the People's Republic of China or 7 or 8 or 10 million more teachers and doctors and musicians murdered in the progressive socialist takeovers in Vietnam and Cambodia, plus throw in a couple more million murdered by socialists, but progressive socialists in Cuba and El Salvador and Nicaragua and Venezuela, etc., and so on. They say socialism can work without killing hundreds of millions of people, and to prove it, they point to places like Sweden. For many years, this was the best single piece of evidence for the Loch Ness Monster. It's called the surgeon's photograph. The surgeon's photograph was a hoax. And decades after this picture was taken, some researchers reproduced the hoax to show how it was done. And the shocking thing about it was that the little model monster that they used for that picture was only about this big. It's about the size of a duck decoy. And it's only knowing that you can now look at the surgeon's photograph and see what's wrong with it. The waves, they're too big and they're too smooth. They look like ripples. It's because they are ripples. The best evidence of the Loch Ness Monster was so poor that without magical thinking, people would have seen through it right away.
You're listening to the Bacon Radio Network.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
And guess what this liberal will be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for it.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
I took the initiative in creating the internet. I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Second hour of the program, Bold Republic Radio Show is on. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So on a Friday edition, I do a lot of house cleaning, and I'm going to back up a little bit. I don't think we need to spend much more time on Eric Holder, but here we go. Well, no, really, I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on Eric Holder, really. I mean, well, we already know, and it gets old after a while. I understand that. But I came across, oh, by the way, whoever his replacement's going to be, I don't care about the theories as to why he quit. Good riddance, bad rubbish, all that good stuff. Okay, good. So he's gone. He's out as soon as they find a replacement. I'm thinking his replacement's probably just going to be as bad as him. I'm going to be really curious to find out who he is. Oh, the Republicans are going to have to do some, it's an election year. The Republicans will do some fake grandstanding on trying to get someone better than Eric Holder. But then again, remember, they weren't able to get rid of Eric Holder, so I really don't care so much about the Republicans and what they have to say in this case. If anybody should have been easy to get rid of, it should have been Eric Holder. This should have been a slam dunk a long time ago, but they couldn't touch the guy, which tells me the Republicans have no backbone in something like this. So, okay, I came across this story. It's on the Daily Signal. You'll also find it on my website, on my reading assignment page at boldrepublic.com. Eric Holder's 7 worst actions as Attorney General. That piqued my interest. Number 1. Oh, this was easy. Operating fast and furious, probably the most reckless law enforcement operation ever carried out by the Justice Department. That, of course, is the gun-running scandal that led directly to the death of an American border agent and many Mexican citizens. Holder was held in contempt of Congress because of his refusal to turn over information and documents about the operation gone wrong that was basically claimed that he knew nothing about. Now, if you can't, held in contempt of Congress means what? Here's my advice to you. Don't take this as legal advice. I'm not trying to give you legal advice. Just tossing it out there. If you ever get a phone call or some mail or something, and it's Congress telling you that you've been subpoenaed and you need to show up and you need to show the following documents or whatever, don't even bother. Just don't even show up. You can answer if you want. If you do answer, send them a one-word answer on a sticky note. Put back in the envelope with the letter they sent. No. That's all it needs to say. Just don't show. What? Why? They hold you in contempt means what? Means what? Obviously nothing. So Eric Holder just refuses to show up with documents that are important to the congressional investigation. He's not going to show up with the documents. He'll sit there and talk to them, and all he did was badger Congress, these congressmen in this committee. He didn't really answer anything. So contempt of Congress, great. You can't even get rid of him over that. All right, number 2. Eric Holder has waged a war on the election integrity and has radicalized the Civil Rights Division to the point of corruption. We talked some about this yesterday. According to one current justice employee, that's the political left extremists love Eric Holder. They have an agenda that does not comport with equal protection under the law. Let's not forget, I told you guys about this yesterday, but for those who missed it, when Eric Holder took office, let's not forget a couple of Black Panthers standing out in front of a polling place with batons, harassing white people, and it's on video. Eric Holder lets that go. A Black Tea Party activist just handing out little Gadsden flags and so on, beaten up by a bunch of union thugs who are shouting racial slurs, but the union thugs are Democrats. So we'll let that go. Okay, when it comes to racism, what side of the argument is Eric Holder on? All right. So that, we should have been able to get rid of him over that early on, but okay. Number 3, failure to conduct a real criminal investigation of the IRS targeting of conservative organizations and enforce the contempt citation issued by the House of Representatives against Lois Lerner. Here again, there's an ongoing investigation. You can't get rid of him for that. He's still in office after that. They should have been able to get rid of him long before the whole Lois Lerner thing happened, but you can't get rid of him over that. It's what he chooses to enforce and what chooses to ignore. And, well, there's the next thing. Laws that he chooses to enforce, laws that he chooses to ignore. All right. So he's just going to let the whole Lois Lerner thing slide. And he should be in charge of that investigation. But what do you want to bet? It's not just coming down from the Obama administration, but what do you want to bet he's buddy-buddy with Lois Lerner? Number 4, reinstituting the Clinton-era model for handling terrorists that the danger for the national security and safety of the American people. And going after journalists in leaked investigations while ignoring leaks coming from the White House from high-level administration. Oh, and now the journalist thing. He has gone after journalists. Depends on what they're reporting. Like, for example, journalists that are investigating Fast and Furious are investigated. Journalists that are investigating the White House are investigating. See, but he'll go after them actively. Kind of like the IRS is used to go after these people as well. That's your Eric Holder Department of Justice. Okay. But we can't seem to get rid of this guy. All right. Number 5, failing to advise President Obama against taking actions that violate the Constitution and federal law. Refusing to enforce or defend federal laws, and trying to persuade states and attorneys general to engage in the same type of behavior of refusing to defend laws passed by their state legislators. You know, now in some cases, it depends on which kind of a case you're talking about here. In some cases, they just don't have the resources. Like, for example, Colorado legalizes marijuana, and Eric Holder is just not going to pursue any cases in Colorado because it's still against the law on the federal books in Colorado, but on the state books it's now legal. So Eric Holder's just not going after that. Why? He simply doesn't have the resources to go after that. By the way, where is the Department of Justice when it comes to immigration? We already know the answer to that. There's plenty he could be doing there about immigration. Not going to. Oh, let's not forget voting. When it came to voters' rights, where did Eric Holder come down on that? If a state files, and I consider this voters' right, you are one citizen, you get one vote. So a state like South Carolina comes along and says, well, we're going to pass legislation so you have to show up with voter ID. You have to have some kind of ID, a driver's license, something, because we have voter fraud going on down here, and we want to put a stop to it. So you have to prove that who you are, and you're only allowed to vote once. Who decided to sue states like South Carolina? Eric Holder, Department of Justice, went after them in court. Oh, immigration. Let's not, while I'm on that. So Arizona passes immigration reform. Who sued California? Did I say California? Arizona. Who sued Arizona? Eric Holder. All right. Continue on down to number 6. Engaging in collusion, sue and settle lawsuits with advocacy organizations and political allies of the president in order to implement regulations and new requirements without public notice or participation in order to use taxpayer money to fund the budgets of liberal groups. Sounds kind of confusing, doesn't it? Engaging in collusive sue and settle lawsuits. In other words, we're going to sue you, but if you settle with us now, well, it'll never go to court. Those kind of lawsuits in order to push the president's agenda. There's the short story on that one. All right, last one for Eric Holder. Treated Congress with contempt and did everything he could to evade its onslaught for oversight responsibilities by misleading, misinforming, and ignoring members of Congress and its committee. So at this point, there is no telling how long it will take to repair the damage that Holder has done to the Justice Department. There are people, I've talked about this before, who've resigned from the Justice Department because of Eric Holder, because of some of what I just mentioned here. As one former Justice Department employee said, Holder is the worst person to hold the position of Attorney General since John Mitchell, who left in disgrace, went to jail as a result of the Watergate scandal. So there is your Attorney General Eric Holder. Now, what gets me when I've been, and this kind of stuff will drive me crazy, because here again, when someone holds an office, I look at the man holding the office. I look at the person. I look at their actions. I don't care about race. It's Eric Holder that keeps bringing up race. And when he's criticized, he's sat there and he will gone to speak at different churches and so on and said, well, the reason that they're after me is because I'm the first black man to hold the office. It has nothing to do with what the man's race is. Well, that's the excuse he uses. Don't care what the man's race is. How about do your job? But okay, they're investigating Fast Furious. He's just simply not going to turn over the documents. Fine, if some state passes immigration reform, he'll just sue the state. Fine, if a state wants to get rid of election fraud by passing voter ID, we'll just go ahead and sue them. IRS scandal? No, not if you're friends with Lois Lerner and Barack Obama. You don't pursue the IRS scandal? Absolutely not. This is the Eric Holder that held the office. People that will, like Black Panthers, will get off scot-free. And as far as he's concerned, that is justice at the Justice Department. I wondered why not only did Eric Holder continue to hold the job for such a long period of time, but why he wasn't not only forced to resign in disgrace, but why the man's not in jail. How? Okay, let's back off from jail. I mean, 'cause I wonder that. But how does he still have a law license at this point, considering everything that I just laid out in front of you? How does he even have a law license? And in all of this is where I got to turn and blame the Republicans now. In all the years that we had Eric Holder, 6 years of Eric Holder, and you guys were not able to find a way to get rid of this? I came across an article. I get mad every time I see this. I really do. It drives me crazy. Whenever there's a Republican that will turn and say, well, we're not going to be able to get rid of Obamacare. It's law now. We'll never get rid of it. That kind of attitude is exactly the reason they can never get rid of a guy like Eric Holder. Because they have that kind of an attitude. Nah, I can't go after him. He's untouchable. I just can't go. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Do you wonder why I want to rotate out everybody in the Republican Party and bring some fresh blood in there? And I just want to make sure before I vote for them, I would like to have a backbone test. If they got at least some cartilage back there, I'd be happy.
Bold Republic.
Yes, all season. You could watch the game at home, but then you'd have to get up to get a beer.
Honey, hey, can you give me a beer?
And your best friend is certainly no You could invite your friends over, but then you'd have to clean up after them. So forget home. This football season, head down to Jack's Liquor, your adult daycare center. They have the snacks, they have the drinks, and they'll bring it to you. All your friends are there, and you don't have to clean up after them. $3 bottles of 16-ounce Bud or Bud Light during the football game, all season long. Jack's Liquor and Bar, your adult daycare center. 302 East 2nd Street, Gillette, Wyoming, across from Napa Auto Parts.
Here at Don's Supermarket, we do all we can to make your grocery shopping experience perfect. We make sure that the third wheel on our shopping carts smell just so. Up aisle 2 is Luann with all the latest gossip. She knows everything that's going on around town, and she can't wait to tell you.
Sally's husband.
We hired a guy for the meat market named Sam. I mean, of course we did. Meat? Sam? Come on. Our cashiers are the sweetest girls you've ever met. Fast at the register, and even faster when someone pulls up to the 10-item express line with 50 items. And on aisle 3, there's the 300-pound man wearing a Batman costume.
I'm Batman.
Why? Well, I mean, why not? Add to that our fresh fruit, weekly specials on what your family likes to eat, and you get the best family-friendly shopping experience a grocery store can provide, and prices you can afford. Don's Supermarket, 1501 West 2nd Street, Gillette, across from Value Villa.
Daydreaming, son. It's time to get prepared. Time to get off your sofa and run yourself down to Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. Oh, my 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Civilian soldier, they got everything you could need. That's right, the Surplus is unlimited. Surplus Unlimited ammo for babies and adults.
That's right, babies need camo too.
10 different styles of camo.
Oh, don't you look pretty.
550 cord, numerous colors, wool blankets, boots, hats, gloves, coats, shirts, tactical vests and belts, camping supplies, high quality army cots, and that hard to find P38 can opener. Save time, save money. Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. 801 Carlisle on the Douglas Highway across from the fishing lake. Gillette, Wyoming.
Pool leagues, dart leagues. Saturday night is ladies' night. Poker every Wednesday night. Domestic beers and draft on sale, and special daily dollar shop. We even have a packaged liquor drive-thru and many other things for you. It's Lakeside Liquor, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. Sunday, 11 till 11, because you need to relax after where you've been. Work is hard for the ladies and gents. Come to Lakeside Liquor. Relax and vent. Lakeside Liquors across from Wyoming Work Warehouse in Gillette.
So what's the matter, Senator? Flushing all that taxpayer money down the toilet, clogging up the drain again?
And how? And nothing works when the money don't flow.
And I bet flushing all that Chinese money really clogs the pipes.
Oh, with interest. Yeah, Chinese money's the worst.
Well, Senator, to keep that money flowing, why not try this new pipe cleaner? It's called Debt Bomb.
Debt Bomb?
Yes, Debt Bomb, Senator. With all the pressure building up in the pipes from all that money you're flushing down the toilet, well, there's just simply no flow. You need something to clear the clog. But don't worry, the pressure will eventually up that you can just shove Debt Bomb into the toilet and everything blows sky high.
Yee-haw! Look at it go.
Why, there's nothing left. No, Senator, there's nothing. No economy, no country, nothing.
But you say that like it's a bad thing.
Endorsed by governments worldwide. It's inevitable. Debt Bomb.
Come on, don't act like you don't know how this works. Glenn sits in a padded room, talks to himself, and guess what? You're the voices in his head. It's really creepy, but it works. Let's get back in there. Glenn Woods is back on the air.
Hey, since I mentioned while I was talking about Eric Holder, since I mentioned the whole election thing, which, by the way, again, he will sue any state that tries to implement any kind of voter ID just to make sure they get rid of the fraud. Get a load of this. In Vermont, apparently even fraudulent votes count. Okay, let's find out how this works. In Vermont, reading directly from the story, even fraudulent vote count, the situation arising in a big election such as the 2012 presidential election, when scores of new voters showed up at polls and vote, even though their names are not on the statewide checklist. In a recent interview with Vermont Watchdog, we just talked with Eric from watchdog.org last hour, the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, Treasurer in Burlington, their capital, explains how the office handles hundreds of uncertified voters who cast ballots in big elections. He said, if we don't have any record of them being in the statewide checklist, And if the voter insists that they are registered to vote, well, we have them fill in a form, and they're added to the checklist. So there you go. So they can vote. So if you want to vote in a presidential election more than once, get a plane ticket to Vermont. According to poll workers at Burlington, 7 wards send forms along with the clerk as well to check to see if the unidentified voters are in fact registered in the state. He says we compare or to whatever forms we may have with the secretary's office. So in other words, they say they have something in place. If he and his clerks receive a valid application, the individual is entered into the statewide database. If the valid application never arrives, the individual isn't, he says. Either way, here's the fun part. He says, not me, he says, the vote counts. So in other words, you go to vote in Vermont, it's found that you claimed that you're on the voter registry, but you're not. So they make a notation that you're not in the voter registry, but we'll count the vote anyway. Beautiful. Okay, when asked if the clerk or treasurer's office counts the votes of walk-in voters whose forms can't be verified, they say that is correct, we do count them. That makes me wonder, do they have more people voting in Vermont than people who are registered to vote at all, or for that matter, live in a certain town? Okay, so by most definition, counting the votes of unregistered voters counts as voter fraud. In other words, you and I would be arrested for something like that. Can you believe I'm telling you this story? No, really, can you believe I'm telling you this story? Well, here we go. Watchdog.org requested that the Burlington Clerk's Office provide a number count of voter affirmation forms submitted in recent elections. I guess they don't care about fraud in that state. And like the 22 presidential elections, okay? And apparently they've all been discarded, okay? But moreover, affirmation forms from town meeting days were misplaced with a clerk who no longer works for the office. Wow, they are just ripe for fraud, aren't they? Although they estimate in prior interviews with Watchdog that 5% or fewer forms turn out to be fraudulent. By the way, the number could be as about as high as 25%, according to some clerks. Now, just so you know how this works, I know Vermont is still a small state, but not just small population-wise, small landmass-wise. So for those of you who I'm from the East Coast, and I lived in Massachusetts for a while, so I'm used to what that area looks like. It's a little bit different than voting here if you're in the Dakotas or Montana, Wyoming, because quite literally, you can vote and then just drive to the next town, which is not 2 hours away. It's a couple of minutes away, and you can vote again. Then you can go to the next town, which is not a few hours away, but a couple of minutes away, and you can vote again. That's how close people are in places like that. It's a lot different than living out here. Deputy Clerk of Montpelier said the office follows procedure. Yeah, well, that may be the procedure, but we have them fill out the affirmation form, which is saying, just stating that they truly believe they are registered to vote. And you believe them. It's a presidential election. Look, on this show, on this program here, we've talked about this. I've played the audio from liberals who were looking for ways to vote but they left Florida and moved to Texas, let's say. But they are still on the voter rolls in Florida, and they realize that in a presidential election, they can use their absentee ballots and vote twice. And so they'll do it. And they'll get away with it. So in other words, there are people knowing this hole in the system that'll use it. But apparently, in Vermont, the politically correct thing to do is to let fraudulent voters vote fraudulently. I mean, after all, it's more votes for Democrats. And isn't that what you want in the end? Isn't that? I'm thinking that in the end, it doesn't matter because they're voting Democrat as many times as they can. And that's what you want.
Some politicians argue that raising the minimum wage helps the poor and disadvantaged. It might seem that way at first. Certainly workers who are earning $8 an hour today would be better off if they were earning $12 an hour instead. The problem is that this view of the minimum wage overlooks one important detail. A $12 minimum wage doesn't force employers to pay $12 to every worker. It forces them to pay $12 to the workers the employer chooses to keep. The employer pays $0 to the workers that get laid off or who are never hired in the first place. Let's look at an example. Suppose this guy owns a burger joint. The reason the owner hires a worker is because the worker generates value for the owner. Suppose that, not counting what he pays his worker, the owner makes 10 cents on every burger he sells. Here's Al. Al can flip 100 burgers an hour. If the owner makes 10 cents on every burger, not counting what he pays Al, then Al generates $10 worth of burgers for the owner every hour. If the owner pays Al $8 an hour, then the owner makes $2 an hour profit. $10 an hour on the burgers minus $8 an hour that he pays Al. Now, suppose that the employer hires 3 workers of varying abilities, Al, Bob, and Carl. Bob is a faster worker and can cook 120 burgers an hour. Carl is a slower worker and can only cook 90 burgers an hour. Since each burger is worth 10 cents to the owner, each hour Al produces $10 worth of burgers, Bob produces $12, and Carl produces $9. Suppose the owner pays Al, Bob, and Carl $8 an hour each. After paying the workers, the owner earns $2 an hour profit from employing Al, $4 an hour profit from employing Bob, and $1 an hour profit from employing Carl. In total, the owner makes $7 profit per hour from employing the 3 workers. Now, suppose the government imposes a minimum wage of $9.50 an hour. What does this do to the profit of our 3 workers? Al produces $10 worth of burgers per hour. At a cost of $9.50 an hour, Al now generates a profit of only 50 cents an hour for the owner. Bob produces $12 worth of burgers an hour. At a cost of $9.50 an hour, Bob now generates a profit of $2.50 an hour. But look at what happens to Carl. Carl produces $9 worth of burgers per hour, but he now costs the owner $9.50 per hour in wages. Carl is no longer generating profit for the owner. Carl now generates a loss. In fact, the owner would be 50 cents an hour better off if he fires Carl. The minimum wage was good for Al and Bob. They're each $1.50 an hour better off than they were before. But it was devastating for Carl. Carl lost his job, and so is $8 an hour worse off than he was before. Here's the first lesson of the minimum wage. It doesn't help the worker at the expense of the owner. It helps the more productive workers at the expense of the less productive workers. What's even worse is that the more productive workers usually don't need the help. What do you think would have happened over time to Bob, the most productive worker? Either the owner would have rewarded Bob's higher productivity with a raise, or if the owner didn't reward Bob, one of the owner's competitors would have offered Bob more money to go work for the competitor. Either way, eventually Bob would have ended up earning more anyway. This is the second lesson of the minimum wage. Many of the workers that it does help would have ended up better off anyway, even if the minimum wage hadn't existed. It works this way in the real world. Increases in the minimum wage have little effect on unemployment among college graduates. Increases in the minimum wage increase unemployment among high school graduates. And among the least skilled, least educated workers, increases in the minimum wage significantly increase unemployment. The minimum wage may be a well-intentioned policy, but it often hurts the very workers who are in most need of our help.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show Friday edition. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, okay, and don't forget, if you're watching by the video stream, you can always go ahead and leave obnoxious, snotty remarks and comments and questions, and I'll go ahead and take them. As the show goes, you should be able to see the comment box. Now, for those who catch the show later, and a lot of people do, if you watch the show by video later, you can see those comments, so you know. But also, you can call the show anytime, and we'll get back with you. So if you ever want to call in and make some comment on something, well, we have a way of taking that information and then make sure that the next time I'm here in the studio doing a show, which is daily, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, we'll get a hold of you, and you go make your comment. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. So, okay. You're going to love the twisted logic. No, I mean, seriously, this is some serious twisted logic. Gotta love the messed up. I don't know what's wrong with these people who come up with this kind of stuff. That kind of logic. Are bird watchers racist? If you're a bird watcher, does that make you a racist? Get a look. I am not making this up. You can check your calendars. It is not April 1st. National Geographic Magazine, publication of note, of course, for, well, okay, put in a colorful pile of birds in there and asked a question. They took a look at how many people out there watch birds. Now, based on that number, according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, 93% of birders are white. 93% of the people who like to go out and watch birds are white. Okay. 5% were Hispanic. And 4% were black. 1% were Asian. And the rest were considered to be other. Therefore, since a small minority of minorities watch birds, they were asking the question, and I think they were being satirical, but they were asking the question, does that make it racist? Because so many white people are into it and so many people of other ethnicities are not. Therefore, it must be a racist thing. The horror. If people do not have a recreational activity, you're going to have to stop and ask yourself, how many white people are in this activity compared to how many minority groups? And if there's 95% white people involved in the activity, then the activity is racist. Okay, based on that, let me ask you the question then. So what if we took a sport? I'm going to assume I'm not a sports fan, so I don't know. I can't say that I honestly know. But let's say that the sport of basketball was 95% black players. Does that mean that basketball is racist? Well, of course not. It would only have to be white players, according to what was written up in this article here. The story covers a range of reasons why minorities may find it hard to embrace birding, including concerns about how onlookers might react to seeing a black or Hispanic with binoculars in the woods. I am not kidding. Okay, there are people who sit around and think about stuff like this. Now, on that note, we have a woman here, a delightful young lady named Candace. And I showed her this, I talked to her about the story that I just read, and she laughed. And she said, I'm part of that minority. I even have a bird book. I love watching birds. Judy from Cheyenne just sent me a note. She said, Glenn, what do you and your listeners think of the November constitutional amendment to allow out-of-state people with direct connection to UW to be on the University Board of Trustees in Cheyenne? Out of state, I can tell you right now what I think about that. Honestly speaking, if they are taking it, Judy, from just a business point of view, I would still, because you can imagine someone on the Board of Trustees, as long as they're good at the job, who cares what state they're in? I would rather they have a personal stake in the University of Wyoming because they live in the state of Wyoming. That's my opinion on that. Now, you can do, by the way, what Judy just did. If you want to change the subject, interrupt me if you have to. Either call the phone number, 307-363-4093, or leave a message on the screen if you're watching by video.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance? Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 6002.
Stan, why are you wearing a sweater with a bullseye?
Because it's hunting season.
Right, so...
And there are hunters everywhere.
Okay, but why the bullseye?
Well, if everyone's been shopping at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports...
Oh, right, that's bad.
The way I figure it, we don't stand a chance.
Oh, good point. We don't stand a chance.
Might as well give them a clean shot. With everything you need for hunting season, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, with locations in Casper, Gillette, Riverton, Sheridan, and Cody, Wyoming. Nice knowing you, Frank.
You too, Stan.
You could either spend $100 getting your phone fixed, or you could go ahead and spend $400 to replace it. At Selectel Wireless in Gillette, we fix phones. Most generally, what breaks is the digitizer or the LCD. This is from being dropped, being smashed, thrown against the wall. No, seriously, 9 times out of 10, people throw their phones. Well, we can fix that too. Save money, fix it, don't replace it. Come see us at Selectel Wireless, next to Office Depot in Gillette, Wyoming. But if you do need a new phone, we have those too.
Hello, Americans. This is Rod with my Made in America store, where it's always made here in the USA. Does anyone remember the Battle of Midway? Started June 4th, 1942, 72 years ago. God bless our veterans. Check out our flags, replacement, full flag sets, and motorcycle flags. Remember your dads, fly your flags. American products equals American jobs. 203 Cary Avenue, past the construction on 1416. God bless America, and remember, buy American. It matters.
You have a pool table and darts in your office?
Yeah, sure.
And how many TVs do you have playing sports events in your office?
Oh, I don't know, a bunch.
And you play beer pong in your office?
Doesn't everybody?
No!
Oh.
So you turned your office into a sports bar?
No! We turned the sports bar into the office.
The sports bar is now the office. The Office Saloon, 1400 North U.S. Highway 1416 in Gillette, on your way to the airport.
Come on, don't act like you don't know how this works. Glenn sits in a padded room, talks to himself, and guess what? You're the voices in his head. It's really creepy, but it works. Let's get back in there. Glenn Woods is back on the air.
Okay, so off we go to a jailed woman who was released, thank God, because it all had to do with SpaghettiOs. Remember SpaghettiOs? Well, most people as adults don't eat SpaghettiOs. Well, okay, you do, but it's in some other form. Hang on, because SpaghettiOs sent her to jail. I'm not kidding. Look, I kid you guys about a lot of things, but I usually, when I'm done kidding you, I tell you when I'm kidding you. All right, a jail woman released after a lab test proved that the spoon residue was SpaghettiOs on the spoon, not meth. So apparently she had some junk burned on a spoon. And she was arrested because the arresting officer thought it was meth. A Georgia woman spent over a month in jail on a felony possession charge after officers found a spoon encrusted, wow, that's gross, with what they believe to be crystal meth residue in a car which she was a passenger. She was released after the lab proved her assertion that it was SpaghettiOs. And at that point, when I saw this posted online, my immediate reaction to it was, hey, when I was like 3 years old, I can remember putting SpaghettiOs up my nose. And yes, it causes a bit of a high, but okay. 23-year-old Gainesville, Georgia woman was released from the Halls County Jail Thursday. Okay, the spoon, again, was just... Why would you eat it if the spoon was that bad? She had never faced a felony charge or drug charges and was released from jail on a drug court program initially. Now, I got to really ask the question. I mean, seriously, the police officers didn't immediately test the spoon. They just assumed right away. Okay. No, that's okay. We'll just go. Next, I'm clearing stuff out, folks, because I've got a lot that I haven't been able to get to during the course of the week. This is house cleaning time on a Friday. Kim Jong-un, that would be the dictator of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, hasn't been seen for weeks, and nobody is sure why. He's missing. Okay, here's the story. North Korea, political life in general. The story says political life in general revolves around the supreme leader. Now, they had the great leader, the dear leader. He's the supreme leader. Kim Jong-un to have skipped a high-level government meeting this week. I hate this. Well, it might be true in North Korea. Televised footage, there's no footage, there was no film involved, of the reopening of North Korea's Supreme People's Assembly did not show him at the meeting. South Korean officials asked and are tasked with keeping tabs on North Korea now believe this is the first time he's been missing. Some say they haven't seen him since September. In fact, usually a focus of North Korea's state media has not been on television since September 3rd. So the absence now is sparking rumors in North Korea, many suggesting Kim is in poor health. During the summer, North Korean state television showed him walking with a slight limp, which many had taken a sign as a wider problem. See, the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm just kind of curious. If this guy goes missing, who replaces him? Because I don't think he has any kids ready to take over. This is one of those rare cases where a communist country has been passed down from father to son to son. It's been a dynasty, which is rare in communist countries. So who takes over after this guy? And in each case, each of these, if you thought the dear leader was bad, his son was, the great leader was bad, the dear leader was worse, his son was worse than him. How do they find somebody worse than that? That's a hard build. Do you know anyone who's worse than that? Well, Eric Holder's going to be out of a job. Maybe you can hire him. Oh, he's too tall. Can't do that. So wilder theories have sprung around. Britain's Daily Mirror suggests Kim could have become ill from eating too much imported cheese. Great. Thanks for the conspiracy theory. No wonder the Daily Mail's on top of your reading list, right? The Swiss-educated North Korean leader, he was educated in Switzerland? But I thought they were all about peace. I could understand if Kim Jong-un was educated in Russia. Or, well, in fact, in case you didn't know, Kim Jong-il was educated in the old Soviet Union. But they didn't educate this one in the old Soviet Union. They sent him to Switzerland? Okay. All right, so that's the Daily Mirror's theory. Others outlets suggest security concerns may be a factor. They have him hidden because it's a very paranoid North Korea. Kim's absent, tantalizing, reads the story, but North Korea experts are poring over it. North Korea leader was absent for 2 weeks in 2012 and then returned to the public eye. So I will keep you posted on that. I just can't imagine if Kim Jong-il is missing and winds up dead, who then takes over, and how could they possibly do a worse job than him? I don't know. But okay, interesting to keep an eye on. North Korea is an anomaly. I'm surprised. You know the only reason they've survived this long? Well, they're being propped up by China, and we send them food too. That's the only reason they still survive, or they would have collapsed a long time ago. We keep sending them food. They mark that food. They erase the USA logo on there, if you will, flag, and they write that it's a present from the dear or great leader, so the people believe they're getting food from their government. That's how that works.
According to a new report based on hundreds of interviews with the terminally ill, the Princeton Medical Institute has found that the most common deathbed regret, more than losing contact with family or spending too much time at the office, is never having sprayed a fire extinguisher all over the place.
Similar themes emerged in our interviews with dying patients. Some wished that they'd taken more risks. Others wished that they'd lived a life truer to their dreams. But almost every single person surveyed, regardless of their age or circumstance, said that their most significant regret was never having grabbed a fire extinguisher off a wall and blasted it around a room until it ran out of foam.
I've lived a good life. I was a nurse for 32 years. I have 3 beautiful children, but I've never smashed my elbow into a glass case, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and gone whoosh over everything.
I just wish I could. The foam everywhere. I'd be like, yeah, everything covered in foam.
Researchers found that besides regretting never having deployed a fire extinguisher, people on their deathbed also regretted not having chucked a fire extinguisher out of a window, used it to bash in a door, or rolled it on the ground towards a thief to trip him up.
The day we got the diagnosis, it was just so hard because it means I don't get to grow up. And that's really sad because it means I don't get to take one of those big red fire extinguishers and pull the thing back and watch it go everywhere. But maybe I'll get lucky though. Maybe there'll be some fire extinguishers in heaven.
No, Glenn, it doesn't matter if you're part owner of the company. No cigars in the studio. Oh, what is that smell? Put your shoes back on. I don't want to smell that. Look, if you want good talent, you have to put up with some bad habits. Let's get back in there with the original Bad Habit Boy, Glenn Woods.
It's the last 7 minutes of this hour of the program. One more hour to go. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, okay, I just had to stand up in the front office there, break the news for him. He had pizza in the refrigerator. It hadn't really been there all that long, and I had to get rid of it. I was cleaning out the refrigerator here at the offices. Stuff had been growing fuzz on it for like weeks. And the pizza thing to turn to someone and say, hey, that leftover pizza, I had to get rid of it. And I like eating my pizza cold, too. I like pulling it right out of the refrigerator and not even warming it up. But okay. Sorry about that, Dan, but I just couldn't stand opening up the refrigerator anymore. And there was more life in the refrigerator than in the sales office. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. All right. I came across an article by Ted Nugent. Now, remember a little while ago, the Nuge was on this program. This article caught my eye, and I sent him a note saying, hey, Ted, I got to talk about this. Just the title alone. Now, you got to be careful when you're reading something by Ted Nugent because his mind is as scattered as you think it would be. Great guy, don't get me wrong. You would love talking to him. And the interview's still on my YouTube page, by the way. But, wow, you got to keep up with him. Because inside his brain, it's all going zzz, zzz, zzz. Okay. Oh, Swede wants to know if Kim Jong-il is ill. No, Kim Jong-il is dead. So, yes, he was. The man is dead. So, not anymore. Kim Jong-un is now in charge. So, that should answer Swede's question. Here's the headline. From Ted Nugent, how anti-hunting freakazoids threaten lives. And it actually is Ted Nugent article. They're always fun to read because, like I said, he's scattered and all over the place. He makes a really good case in this article. He talks about towns around America where, for example, they had a bear hunting season. Well, speaking of freakazoids, here come the environmentalists and so on, and the environmentalists want all bear hunting to stop. So what do you wind up with? Too many bears and a dangerous situation, as bears who are looking for food walk into neighborhoods and people get injured and die. Okay, because the bears get desperate. So I can understand why animal rights activists and environmentalists don't kill the animals. I completely understand that, but you also have to understand there's a reason that this hunting goes on. It's not just because there's evil, cruel people that want to kill a bear. Sure, there's hunters out there that really would love to bag a bear and add that to their repertoire. That's fine. But the reason that the state said, whatever state they're in, you can go bear hunting, here's a few permits to kill this many bears, is because they want to keep the population controlled at a certain works. Obviously, just let it go. If man was not around, eventually the bear population would peter out because of starvation, which is a really sucky way to go. Brings us to deer and other such animals. But I think Ted mainly focused on predatory animals in this article. But we can look at other animals too. Deer. No, you can't hunt deer. No. We can't let you go into that area and hunt those deer. And then the deer start to overpopulate and start causing problems. There's a reason that there are permits for killing certain, even like wildcats, and wolves. I've been reading articles, Wild Earth Guardians and groups like that have been just excited as all hell because of a recent court ruling that would ban hunting of wolves in Montana and Wyoming outside Yellowstone National Park. And they consider you hunters out there just to be sick, disgusting human beings. Okay, but if we don't maintain the wolf population at a certain level in Montana and Wyoming, what happens? It's going to get dangerous for the humans. And some of us have kids out there that are running around and playing. It's going to get dangerous for livestock as well. Oh, and did I mention the humans? And so that's what Ted's article talks about. What about those states where they do things like hunt wolves for a reason, not to wipe them out? No one's interested in wiping them out. To control the population just a bit so they don't become a problem. Now, the environmentalists and animal rights activists never see it from that point of view. I get, what do we have to do? Show them, here's what we do. I got an idea. We do a late night infomercial. A really late night infomercial. You know those infomercials where they show starving children from other countries? And they tugs at your heartstring and they say, donate now. Okay. We put a bunch of starving wolves and bears and cats on there. This is what happens when you don't let us get out there and hunt. They starve. Won't you buy a hunter a permit today? Why, if you sponsor a hunter today, we can make sure that these animals are not starving in the wild tomorrow. Sponsor a hunter. Hey, and if you can't sponsor an entire hunter, maybe we can just sponsor some bullets. Would you buy some rounds for a hunter out there somewhere? It would be a good thing for nature if we could keep the population controlled so they don't starve to death or kill some poor kid who was just playing in the backyard and the wildcat or bear was desperately hungry. Be a neat late night infomercial. What do you think? Maybe we should produce that.
you are under, say, 30, you have a tsunami-sized problem coming towards you, and you probably don't even know it. That killer wave is the national debt. Countries, like people, go into debt when they spend more than they have. You and I buy things with the money we earn. Governments buy things with money they get from taxes. When spending outstrips revenue, the government is in the hole. Right now, the hole is $17 trillion deep. This is an incomprehensible number. What is $1 trillion, let alone 17 or 20 trillion? Common analogies like you'd have to stack $1 bills 67,000 miles high to reach the current debt, though impressive sounding, don't help much if at all. So let's bring the problem down to earth. Right now, most investors believe the United States is a safe bet. They believe, in other words, that they'll get the money they loan to the U.S. back with interest. But this can't go on indefinitely. At some point, investors are going to say, you have too much debt. You're a bad risk. No more money. What happens then? We don't have to guess. We can look at Europe, specifically Greece. Investors were happy to loan Greece money until 2010, when it finally dawned on them that Greece couldn't possibly pay them back. Almost overnight, Greece became a very bad credit risk, and the economy went into a death spiral. Businesses failed, thousands were thrown out of work, the government couldn't pay its bills. Germany and the other European economies had to step in and bail Greece out, but the Greeks suffered terribly. The same thing happened in Portugal and Spain. Yes, the United States is much bigger than Greece and has a much more dynamic economy. That's true, but the principle does borrow more money than Greece, but sooner or later, investors will say no more. And if they ever do, our economy will go into the same downward spiral the Greek economy did. Here's another point. At the time I'm giving this course, the interest on our debt is very low, around 2%. But what happens when the interest rate rises from 2% to the much more normal 5%, as it inevitably will? Where is the U.S. going to get the money to pay the higher interest on its enormous? Do we borrow even more? Well, that just gets us deeper in debt. Raise taxes? Well, that cuts economic growth. Then there's the question of who these investors are who are loaning us all this money. The biggest investor right now is China, not exactly a trusted ally. The more money they loan us, the more influence they have over us. Maybe they'll never exercise this power, but do we really want to give them the option? And consider one final point. Is it moral to saddle future generations with this massive debt they had little or nothing to do with? How would you feel about yourself if you knew that you were leaving your children on the hooks for debts you incurred during your life? You had a great time living in a big house, driving a nice car, but you never paid for these things. You left it to your son or daughter to pick up the tab. That's why the people who should care the most about the national debt are young people. They're the ones who will be stuck with the bill. Seniors, and even those who are now in middle age, the ones who took on all this debt, might be able to shrug it off. But young people in their 30s or younger can't, or at least shouldn't. Is there a good way out? Yes, there is. If the economy grows robustly, the government will take in more revenue, and it can then use that increased revenue to pay the debt down. The second way out of debt is to cut spending. If we spend more than we take in, which is what we've been doing, we're going to go deeper and deeper into debt. Common sense would suggest that we bring our revenue, the money the government takes in taxes, and our spending in line. If you combine the two, robust growth and reduced spending, we have a real chance to get control of our national finances. So is the debt a big problem? If you're worried just about tomorrow, probably not. But if you're worried about the future, and especially if you have a lot of future in front of you, yes, it is a really big problem, as big as a tsunami. I'm Michael Tanner of the Cato Institute for Prager University.
Does pornography cause
global warming?
I swear, I have no idea how that got on my computer. It must be Papa.
Do you care about the environment?
Well, sure I do. I mean, who doesn't?
Did you know that a full 13% of internet is taken up by people searching for porn?
But it's not all me. I mean, it's not me.
You know, it takes a lot of energy for you to...
if I were...
Right. So by surfing porn, you are contributing to climate change.
But I sleep after, so that's got to save energy, right?
Save the planet. Don't surf porn.
You're not going to show this video to my mother, are you?
There's never been a day in the last 4 years I've been proud to be his vice president.
For the first time in my adult lifetime, I'm proud of my country.
Do me a favor, could you say senator instead of ma'am? It's just a thing. I worked so hard to get that title.
But resist, we must, and we will much about that be committed.
Maybe corpsman Bouchard.
A three-letter word, jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs.
Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chain.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Picking up on that last note that I left off on last hour. So why is it that liberal politicians cannot stop killing innocent creatures? I'm not kidding. I got an article here. Something was brutally killed. Smashed, as a matter of fact. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. The program is called Bold Republic. The phone number, if you ever want to get involved, and by the way, we will take your call and call you back if you don't call live. That's okay. 307-363-4093. If you're watching by video, go ahead and use the box that's supposed to be right there to leave me messages, and I'll respond to them. So, okay, here's what I'm talking about. And I want to know where PETA is on this one. I really do. Apparently, New York City mayor has slaughtered lovable groundhogs in brutal death. Now, but by the way, when I say PETA, let's not forget, I'm forgetting the name of the town, but there's a town where they celebrate New Year's by lowering some critter in a cage rather than a ball, and here comes PETA, you can't do that, that's immoral, that's unethical. Oh, for God's sake. The animal's probably having a great time up there. Who knows? They never did ask it. But all right, here's the story. Another defenseless creature slaughtered by left-wing politicians. New York Post revealed on Thursday, adorable groundhog by the name of, well, Chuck, was chucked to death during his appearance with the New York City mayor Bill de Blasio. A raging liberal, a flat-out socialist in February. Officials sought to cover up the creature's demise. February is when this happened. So there would be no public outrage. Disturbing trend among politicians, murdering cute little animals and then lying about the victim. Now, I want to know if some average citizen had done this, what would be their fate? I'd like to know. Not just the lies, but the cover-ups. I am not making up this story. This is a real story. Staten Island Zoo officials went to great lengths to hide the death from the public. So now the Staten Island Zoo is involved in the cover-up. Kept it secret the fact that Chuck was chucked. A female imposter was then put in its place so nobody would know. The stand-in was found dead in her enclosure at the Staten Island Zoo February 9th, and, well, determined what happened was when the animal was chucked, for reasons I guess we'll get into, it suffered some internal injuries. As horrific as de Blasio's crime was, it pales in comparison to the carnage President Obama routinely flicks upon the animal kingdom. His victims include bald eagles, golden eagles, kit foxes, baby tortoises, and baby bats. Now, we've talked about this at length. Obama's method of killing these are brutal, including wind turbines and incineration by solar panels. The mainstream media doesn't cover either one. So I'd like you to think about that for just a minute. here's Mayor de Blasio. He's got a woodchuck, whatever, named Chuck. And he grabs the thing and throws it to somebody to catch when he's done showing it to the public. The thing suffers internal injuries and dies. It is a cover-up. Even the zoo is involved. In the meantime, wind turbines are knocking birds out of the sky. And it takes literally thousands of acres for a wind farm. In some cases, tens of thousands for a wind farm. And solar panels are just as bad. And those solar panels that use the big mirrors that heat up the water are burning birds out of the sky. I've not only talked about it, I've posted the video on my website for you guys. So with all of this, the press, again, is complicit. The industry as well. There is a cover-up. There is silence. Democrats apparently like to kill animals. No, see, now you wonder why I'm saying it that way? Because that's the kind of stuff they say about us, isn't it? Oh, no, we just want to see babies die and all that kind of stuff, you know. So, okay, as long as they throw those kinds of accusations at us, let's just go ahead and throw those kinds of accusations right back at them. Well, I don't see why not. I mean, I'm just using their tactics against them, and that's going to drive them crazy, I know. But I think at this point, it's well earned. Now, this next one, I'm sorry to do this to you. For those listening on the radio, you're lucky. For those looking at your screens, normally I say go ahead and look at your video screen right now. I'm going to challenge you to look away. I'm going to show it. If you look, then don't blame me because I warned you in advance. Here we go. What is this noise? All right, what this is, radical feminists strip and take to the streets to protest against radical Islam. So what you're seeing here, and they're not naked. Well, they are naked, but there's stuff covering their stuff, so you know. But this is what happened. A bunch of radical feminists stripped in the streets of Paris to protest against radical Islam. First off, do you honestly think stripping like this is going to do anything? I mean, because they got out in the streets and stripped for radical Islam, does that mean members of ISIS are suddenly going to stop and go, oh, my Lord, why, a bunch of ugly women decided to get naked in France for us because they're mad at us. We better put our guns down and quit beheading people. I think we'll go home. Is that how this is supposed to work? I don't understand the point of protests like this. The next thing I don't understand, I never will. Now, we don't get a good look at these. Do I call them women? Here, I'll see it from now. You can look at your screens now. Those that are watching by video. But in most, those could have been attractive women. They had things covering their faces and so on. I couldn't tell. They're covered in all sorts of wording and so on. They painted all over their bodies. It is a general standing rule that I discovered when I was young, that people who like to get naked in public are never the people that you want to see naked in public. I learned that when I was a kid. There's a beach. I grew up on an island off the coast of Florida. There's a beach called Bowman's Beach. And I would go, and you had to know where it was. It was a public beach, but it was just hidden away through the sea grape trees, which are really big trees that cover, well, don't think of a regular tree. A sea grape tree goes out like a giant tent. Huge. And so you had to go through the sea grape trees out to Bowman's Beach, and there was pretty much no one there because the tourists didn't know that Bowman's Beach was there. So, of course, the nudists find it. The nudists figure it out. And the nudists go to Bowman's Beach. So here I am, like all of 13, 14 years old, and I'm by myself walking up Bowman's Beach, and I turn the corner and go, oh, God. And it scarred me for life. After that, the rare times after that I ever saw anybody naked in public, I quickly realized it's never the people you want to see naked. Now, especially feminists. I wonder if they did it, think about this, in public. They do it for the shock value, right? Is it the shock that they got naked or the shock of what they look like naked? I'm thinking it's the shock of what they look like naked, because you tend to look at them and go, oh, God, oh, my God, stop it. So, okay, let's go back to radical Islam. They're getting naked to protest ISIL. Cool. Let me read the story here. Radical feminists, and this is supposed to do what? Radical feminists stripped off and took to Paris streets to protest radical Islamists, urging infidels to speak out and rise up. Well, if they were attractive, maybe somebody would have risen up, but no. The women, you know where I'm going with that. The women wore scarves to cover their faces as they marched through the streets, sporting plastic flowery rifles and shouting into megaphones. You write your own jokes on that one. I'm not going there. They launched their protest at the top of, I don't know, some place I can't pronounce because it's in French. French and American citizens and all those who are threatened by ISIL jihadists, this is a quote, show your hostility toward their ideas, shouted the women. Don't be scared of being politically incorrect or intolerant. It's only by criticizing them that we can destroy them. Infidels, rise up, they said. Okay. The protest followed the beheading of a French tourist. So this is how the French are fighting back, I guess? Okay. Well, no, at least the French have sent some jet fighters to drop some bombs. Jihadists had vowed to kill French tourists if their demands, including withdrawal from French military personnel, was not met. 10 women involved in a protest called Femin. The group had gained notoriety in recent months by staging protests against world leaders, usually wearing black trousers or tights, and with slogans painted across their bare chests. Last year, they pounded the bell at Notre Dame Cathedral, bearing the slogan, Pope No More. That's your slogan. Okay. In protest against the Catholic Church's opposition to same-sex marriage. Last December, members of the group publicly urinated on photos of the Ukrainian president. Publicly urinated. Wow. Classy names. That is so classy to do something like, to go out in public and get naked and publicly urinate on a picture of the Ukrainian prime minister. Now, I wonder if I got on some kind of dating site, would I find these women there? Because that is just so classy to do something like that. All right. No, I've thought of that recently when I've looked at other protests that women are doing. Wow, you're really classy protesting in that way. Yeah, you're making your point. Are you making your point, or are people just looking at you going, God, what an idiot? You got to stop and think about that. 10 women involved in the latest protest stood in front of a pink manor and waved pink flags and boldened with the word infidel state. They also P-47s and Uzis covered in colorful plastic pink stuff and so on. Okay. So there are the feminists once again getting naked. Now I have a message for ISIL. If there's any radical Islamists out there, I just would like you to listen and get this message to the leaders of ISIL, wherever they may be. Because of your actions by taking over a good portion of the Mideast and your beheading of people and so on, you have caused great distress around the world. We are not terrorized by your suicide bombers and you beheading reporters. That doesn't scare us one bit. But we are scared to death that more feminists are going to get naked on public streets because of what you're doing. For the love of God, stop it.
Glenn Woods, BoldRepublic.com.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance? Upgrade your roof. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
Howdy, folks. This is Swede from Swede Specialties here in Gillette, and I'm here today with Mr. Wimpy. Mr. Wimpy, have you ever tried a home-brewed beer?
Oh, no, I only like Wimpy beer.
Would you like to try a home-brewed beer, Mr. Wimpy?
Well, okay, but just a sip, it looks kind of dark.
Just close your eyes and try it. Whoa. Well, Mr. Wimpy, what do you think of homebrew? Now that's real beer, Pilgrim. So give Swede a call, 307-686-0588, or go to swedespecialties.com.
Hello, Americans. This is Rod with my Made in America store. Huge thank you to all our veterans out there as we pass the 70th anniversary of D-Day on Omaha Beach. God bless our veterans. Show your colors. Fly your flag. Tell your oil patch friends we carry FR jeans and shirts. Camp cooks, check out our Lodge cast iron cookware. American-made product with American jobs. 203 Cary Avenue. Come on in, past the construction. We're still here. God bless America, and remember, buy American. It matters.
Wimpy, are you still drinking that homebrewed beer the Swedes from Swede Specialties help you to make?
Why, yes, dear. I sure am, whiny. Why do you ask?
We never have any good wine around here. I would like something really good.
All I hear around here is wine, wine, wine. Why don't you get the makings from Swede at Swede Specialties? He can help you make really good wine right here at home. Give Swede a call, 686-0588, or go to swedespecialties.com.
I don't understand the Supreme Court Obamacare decision.
Well, it's simple. The individual mandate was struck down. You cannot be fined for not having health insurance. It is unconstitutional.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
But you can be taxed.
But wait, isn't that the same as a fine?
No, it's not a mandate. It's a tax.
So I don't have to pay the tax.
If you don't pay the tax, you are fined.
But isn't that a mandate?
No, it's a tax.
Wait, so a mandated fine is unconstitutional?
Yes.
But I have to pay the tax or I'm fined.
Right.
But doesn't that make the tax a mandate?
No, it's a tax, not a mandate.
Who thought of this?
No, who voted against it?
Who?
Exactly.
Wait, what's the name of the guy who thought of this?
No, he voted against it too.
Hold on.
No, hold on is on third base.
What?
He voted against it.
Who did?
Exactly.
I just want to know the name of the guy who thought of this lame idea of calling an unconstitutional mandate a tax as if there's any difference.
It's not a mandate, it's a tax.
Well, what if I decide not to pay it?
Then you're fine. It's mandated.
Yeah, the tax is not a mandate.
No, it's not.
Oh, for the love of the Messiah.
No, he's in the White House.
When you dance, dance like nobody is watching. And when you call Glenn, talk like the NSA and IRS are listening. Because most likely they are.
Guess who?
And they haven't had their daily dose of irreverent, insulting sarcasm today. We're counting on you. Call the show now.
So, Wednesday is an anniversary, and we should mark it on our calendars. I will be doing a countdown all Wednesday because of this anniversary. Wednesday is October 1st, and the anniversary is we will have officially reached 18 years without any global warming in the temperature trend. Now, as I've said before, and you've heard me make this case, it's really easy to graph out. There are those warmists out there who will say, well, last summer was the hottest on record. First off, no, it wasn't. No, listen to me. No, it wasn't. Well, we have data from NASA. I have data from NASA. I have data from NOAA and other organizations like that, IPCC and Climate Research Unit in East Anglia and so on. And we have satellite data, and no, it wasn't. So take that. Now, next, even if it was, when you graph it out, how does a graph work? Well, some years the summers are really hot. Some years the summers are mild to cool. And year after year, you mark it down, and then you take a look at it and find, is the trend going up, or is the trend going down, or is it flat? And what the graph shows is that for the past 18 years, we have neither gained nor lost any temperature. Yes, we've had some hot summers. And yes, we've had some cool summers. Mild summers, even cool. Up and down it goes. What does the graph show over time? Over time, we have had no global warming. Now, we hit that official mark on Wednesday, which is October 1st, 18 years without any temperature increase on the planet. So we should celebrate this as some kind of an anniversary. I'm not sure what I'll think about it over the weekend, but we got to celebrate this as some kind of anniversary. And here's part of what I'll do over the weekend. It won't take me long to do. That's why I can say I'm going to do this over the weekend. It's not going to take me long to do it. I'm going to gather the information together from some of these major institutions like NOAA and NASA and other such institutions. I'm going to put all of this data together for you. Get some simple graphs, and you can see where you will be able to see where the information is coming from, right? You can then turn to your friends who are still believers, and by the way, there's very few of them left. Even friends of mine, I have friends that are hardcore liberals. They're good people. That's why they're friends of mine. They're really good people. You would like them. But their beliefs, though, wow. Hard to get into a conversation with them about anything, okay? Even they have reached a point where they're just shaking their heads going, you know, I'm not believing this anymore. We also know that it's coming to an end for the warmists out there because they've gotten so desperate, their claims are getting more and more outrageous all the time. So, here, let's put the final nail in the coffin. Now, I've got all of this information with a story on this that's on my website right now, which I'll keep throughout the weekend. Now, the headline is, upcoming anniversary, October 1st will mark 18 years of no global warming. From cnsnews.com, because right away, Fox News, not Fox News. According to the database used last year, October 1st will mark the 18th year no scientific warming or significant warming trend in the surface average temperature, according to the director of the Cato Institute, their study of, Center for Study of Science. Even if the current 18-year trend were to end, it would still take nearly 25 years for the average global temperature to reflect what that change is going to be. So once again, you have to think of things in terms of a graph. So let me do that again. If, let's say, starting next summer, whatever, temperatures were to suddenly shoot up and the planet were to get really warm, we would not know that that was the trend until about 25 years from now. Sooner or later, even Al Gore and numerous other so-called scientists and academics who agree that the Earth has a fever will have to admit that their climate models are just flat out wrong. Oh, by the way, while I'm talking about this, there's another story on my reading assignment page that's right near it that talks about the sensitivity of CO2. Now, we've talked about this before. I want you just to imagine a graph in your head. There's X amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, and that will cause this much warming, right? Okay. So it turns out that the amount of warming that will be caused is actually a lot less than they originally said. We've talked about this before. They overestimated how important CO2 is. Even, first off, it's one of the least of the greenhouse gases. Start with that. But then, here's from the story that's in front of me, scientists have been lowering their estimates of how much warming will occur because of CO2 levels. If they were to continue to increase, well, it's not going to cause as much warming as we originally said it was going to. A new report published by the Journal of Climate Dynamics talks about this. The report found that doubling CO2 concentrations would cause less than 1.64 degrees Celsius of warming in the long term. That is far lower than they originally estimated that it was going to be. So again, I'll provide all of this information for you. I'll provide this information for you. So on the 1st, when we hit the anniversary, you have something to go with.
that the government effectively punishes people for working. Sound too sad to be true? Let me tell you a story. I once had a student who interned at Florida's welfare program for low-income families. One day, a distraught mother and her teenage son came into the office. Their benefits had been cut, and they were unable to pay their bills, and she didn't know why. My student searched and searched to figure out why this was the case, and he made an unsettling discovery. It turns out that the teenage son had worked additional hours at his part-time job. He had been doing good work, extended the number of hours, and this allowed the teenage son to bring home more income to the family. But that little bit of extra money reduced the public assistance that the family was eligible for. In fact, the cut was so deep that those extra hours worked actually lowered the total income the family had to live on. This is a horrible situation, one faced by millions of families. Instead of experiencing a gradual decline in benefits as their earnings increase, the government abruptly strips the benefits away. It punishes them for working. Now imagine if you and your family were struggling financially, and you had the opportunity to work additional hours or take a job. But in doing so, you would actually make your family worse off. How would you respond to these perverse incentives? You'd likely scale back on the number of hours worked or not take the job. While individual programs attempt to reduce benefits gradually, they often do so at the same time, and this can result in a large, abrupt reduction in benefits. At times, individual programs also have abrupt, sudden declines in benefits. Take, for example, the federal food stamp program, SNAP. For a parent with 2 children, the benefits are gradually reduced as earnings approach $30,000. But once the parent earns over $30,000, the benefits suddenly drop. This is crazy. Whatever you think about public assistance for the poor, we can all agree that this is the wrong way to do it. People should be rewarded, not punished, when they work. The welfare system is so poorly designed that it is trapping many people that it was created to help. My name is Sean Mulholland, professor of economics, and I believe there are ways to fix the system. If you'd like to learn more about these issues and explore potential alternatives, please join me for a free online program at Learn Liberty Academy. Please click here to register. I hope to see you there.
In hard times, America needs smart, disciplined leadership. A vice president Americans can count on.
3-letter word, jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs.
Improving race relations.
They're going to put you all back in chains. Put you all back in chains.
Helping small businesses.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
Using fiscally sane policies.
You're telling me we got to go spend money to keep from going bankrupt? The answer is yes, I'm telling you.
And bringing Americans together with hope.
Murder will continue to rise. Rape will continue to rise.
Joe should stay. Joe Biden, America's greatest vice president, when we need him most.
Put you all back in chains.
Does your company have a website? No? Well, then maybe you want to talk to us. We are CGI. We're the company that built healthcare.gov. That's right, President Obama's Obamacare site. Maybe you've heard of us. We've certainly made lots of news. Healthcare.gov only cost us over $6.5 million to create. And that's perfectly affordable for a small company like yours, especially if you're taking government subsidies. Tired of those annoying customers always getting through and keeping you busy? Well, with a CGI website, we guarantee that that's never gonna happen. And because your company is subsidized by the government, it doesn't matter how much business you do or don't do, the money just keeps rolling on in. Want more information on how you can have one of these government websites and collect government subsidies to stay in business? Well, just log on to our website now, CGI.com. Well, if you can, but you probably can't. But we designed it that way, so we don't expect to hear from you anytime soon. CGI, providing last decade's technology for a modern world.
Yeah, I know, Mom, but they offered me more money to produce Glenn's show now that it's syndicated. Sure, I know. Stocking shelves at Walmart at 2 a.m. has a heck of a lot more prestige than... Whoa, hang on, Mom. Be right back.
Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Oh, come on, Mom. Stop crying.
So you might think after 3 hours, well, 2.5 hours of this, coming up on 3 now, I might be running out of stories. I used to do a 4-hour morning show, and that was not enough time to get in everything that I had. So not as hard as you think when you're a loudmouth, obnoxious blowhard like me. So, okay. Name's Glenn Woods. Bold Republic is the radio show. Phone number to call in, 307-363-4093. Pretty much everything I'm talking about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. And by the way, special features are posted, not just on the website, but on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that during the course of the weekend. And if you missed any shows and you want to catch up, just go to my website. It's all right there. So Connecticut bureaucrats cite Newtown. By the way, before I get into this, let me set it up. All right. I told you guys about this earlier this week again. I said to you that you homeschoolers out there have to watch out. And I reminded you that I got a woman that I know mad at me because she misunderstood what I was originally saying. What I was originally saying was, you folks go to homeschool thinking you're going to get out of government schools and government control, but boy, they're coming for you. They want you in Common Core. They want you in their testing programs. They want to control the curriculum. They don't want you homeschooling at all if they can help it. Don't forget, in Germany, it's illegal to homeschool. Parents have gone to jail for homeschooling. And that's what some of these people want here in America. Point in case was the story I told you about from New Jersey. A mom takes her kids home to homeschool, and she got a letter from a bureaucrat that was a threatening letter. You need to comply with the Common Core standards and there's a bunch of threats involved with it. Well, she was smart enough to take it to the local press, and the press made it public and asked, what the hell is this? And so the school backed off, but she's still expected to comply with their rules and regulations. Okay, here's the next one. Connecticut bureaucrats cited the Newtown shooting to demand tougher control on homeschoolers. Really? Is there anybody out there shooting up homeschools? No, I really would. I'm not asking that in a flippant way. I really mean that. Is there anybody out there shooting up homeschools? Okay, because they're doing it in the public schools. I don't see it happening at the homeschools. All right, well, here's the story. Sandy Hook Advisory Committee, convened by the governor, Daniel Malloy, says it has recommended tighter control of homeschooling families in the state to prevent another Newtown shooting. According to the Connecticut Post, the commission states want tighter scrutiny of homeschools may be needed to prevent an incident such as the incident in Newtown. Post reports that the murders were carried out by a disturbed 20-year-old who had been homeschooled by his mother. Therefore, all homeschool kids are suspect at this point, according to them. Because one homeschool kid went crazy and went back to his old public school and shot it up. Therefore, all homeschool kids are crazy. Well, you're just clinging to your guns and Bibles. Despite the commission's sense that the Newtown shooting translates into the need to have greater control over homeschools who might have behavioral issues. That's why some parents will go ahead and do that. Dr. Susan Schmeisser, professor of mental health at the University of Connecticut Law School, stressed that a diagnosis of mental illness alone makes it a very weak predicator to violence. In fact, according to a variety of reports, experienced most of his education in public schools, a report released November of 2013. The offices of state attorney provides the following information regarding the background of the kid who shot up the Newtown school. The shooter went through the Newtown public school system through part of the 7th grade and part of the 8th grade. While the shooter did attend Sandy Hook Elementary School from 1998 to 2003, the first through the 5th grade, he was never assigned to the classroom where the shooting occurred. The shooter went for walks with his family around and near the school. The shooter indicated that he loved the school and would like to go there. It had nothing to do with homeschooling. According to some, the shooter was more of had more social problems when he first moved to Connecticut when he was younger. He would attend play groups and parties. The earlier school years had him portrayed as a nice kid with sort of a withdrawal problem. He loved music, played the saxophone, and it goes on. And as you read the kid's bio, and this goes on, none of this had anything to do with him being homeschooled. But what are they trying to do here? Make homeschool kids look suspicious. We've got to have greater control over homeschools because that's where the shooter's coming from. This one shooter in this one case who also attended public school. Now, I'd like to say to those people, since you have only one kid who attended a homeschool for a short period of time, stayed at home with his mom, how many homeschool kids, let's run the numbers here. How many homeschool kids, percentage-wise, have shot up a school compared to public school kids? They just want control of your kids. They don't want you teaching your own kids. Trust me, you homeschool parents. They are not happy that you're homeschooling. They're not happy with this. And they're going to find some way to get control and eventually get you back into school, public school, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it seems the Higgs transponder flagellated your subdual drive and capacitated your moron circuit.
Does your mechanic speak another language?
So I figured we reversed the polarity on the latch trigger and transposed the Weller circuit, and that should do it.
Some mechanics take advantage of the fact that you can't speak or understand them.
Yep, this is going to do it, but it's going to be expensive.
But at Ideal Auto, we speak your language.
This broke. Me fix. Affordable.
They can understand that. Get your car repaired with the people who speak your language. Ideal Auto, 2901 Dogwood Avenue, Gillette, Wyoming, 307-686-2259. You have a pool table and darts in your office?
Yeah, sure.
And how many TVs do you have playing sports events in your office?
Oh, I don't know. Bunch.
And you played beer pong in your office?
Doesn't everybody?
No!
Oh.
So you turned your office into a sports bar?
No! We turned the sports into the office.
The sports bar is now the office. The Office Saloon, 1400 North U.S. Highway 14, on your way to the airport.
Stan, why are you wearing a sweater with a bullseye?
Because it's hunting season.
Right, so...
And there are hunters everywhere.
Okay, but why the bullseye?
Well, if everyone's been shopping at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports...
Oh, right. That's bad.
The way I figure it, we don't stand a chance.
Oh, good point. We don't stand a chance.
Might as well give them a clean shot. With everything you need for hunting season, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, with locations in Casper, Gillette, Riverton, Sheridan, and Cody, Wyoming. Nice knowing you, Frank.
You too, Stan.
So what's the matter, Senator? Flushing all that taxpayer money down the toilet, clogging up the drain again?
And how? And nothing works when the money don't flow.
And I bet flushing all that Chinese money really clogs the pipes.
Oh, with interest. Yeah, Chinese money's the worst.
Well, Senator, to keep that money flowing, why not try this new pipe cleaner? It's called Debt Bomb.
Debt Bomb?
Yes, Debt Bomb, Senator. With all the pressure building up in the pipes from all that money you're flushing down the toilet, well, there's just simply no flow. You need something to clear the clog. But don't worry, the pressure will eventually build up that you can just shove Debt Bomb into the toilet and everything blows sky high.
Oh, look at it go.
Why, there's nothing left. No, Senator, there's nothing. No economy, no country, nothing.
But you say that like it's a bad thing.
Endorsed by governments worldwide. It's inevitable. Debt Bomb.
A radio show? Yeah. Tip of the iceberg. Check out the YouTube videos. See what Glenn's talking about on Facebook and Twitter. You can find out more at boldrepublic.com.
Couple more things on schools as we wrap up the last 15 minutes-ish or so of the program. So, all right, 17 things. I posted this on my Facebook page today, which, by the way, if you want to follow and get into the conversation on Facebook, just go to my website, boldrepublic.com, and right there on my Facebook page, you'll see, well, right there on the front page, you'll see the link to my Facebook page, and it's a Open conversation, really. So let's go back to schools really care, if you really care to do this, but but we're going to have to. These schools don't care if you make friends. Stupid rules, like 17 stupid rules from schools. 1, holding hands. We've talked about this before, too. A school in Tennessee banned holding hands because they consider it a gateway to sexual activity. And you thought playing Ring Around the Rosies was, okay. Actually, state senators in Tennessee can apparently see dirty in every little thing. So if there's a couple of kids in elementary school and they're holding hands, that eventually is a gateway to sexual activity. Hugging, that would have to be the same thing. Well, if you ban holding hands, you better believe that the lewd hug was also given the axe. From handshake, will handshakes be next? Okay. No problem there, I guess, with hands. But hugs ended up lumped under the same rules. Students had a hug in to protest it, which I'm glad that they did. So now we'll see if that gets changed or not. Book bags banned in certain schools. I had a book bag when I was in school. I carried a book bag. Book bags are usually banned to prevent back strain on students, as well as due to the fear of students stealing items and bringing contraband. Book bags can also cause crowding in narrow hallways and stairwells. However, limiting students to having only what they can carry means they need to have more time switching classrooms. How about just, really the answer is let the kid figure it out. If I was carrying, I had a little backpack. It wasn't even called a book bag back then. And I made sure not to put so much in it that it bothered my back. I can handle it, I think, even at that age. But okay. Next, and then they're afraid we're going to steal. Well, you're going to steal because you got a book bag. Obviously, you're going to steal. This is the world they're raising your kids in. Bake sales. We've talked about this at length. Bake sales were not so common in my school, but around the country, bake sales were almost banned completely in Massachusetts. But a rule that foods have to have certain nutritional value saved the bake sales. All right. Non-motorized transportation means walking with bikes. So when you get to the school, get off your bike. With the emphasis on nutrition and physical activity, you think students walking or biking to school will be encouraged. Not so. Students, particularly in urban areas, sometimes prohibited from walking or biking to school because school officials feel it's unsafe for them to do so. Wow. Want you to get exercise, but don't walk to school or bike. It's unsafe. It seems that students in urban areas practice safely navigating this well, you know something? Here, once again, this is the nanny state in action. Your kid can't even ride a bike to school anymore because it might be considered unsafe. What kind of kids are we going to wind up with if we don't trust them to even do this? Dodgeball. Well, think of the future of the country. Dodgeball. No, dodgeball sharply decreased in popularity since bullying and school violence came into the spotlight over the past decade. The sport, well, first thing you do in the sport is you target the weak. Oh, yeah, you target the weak. Oh, it's humiliating and it's painful. Rather than teaching kids how to toughen up, instead we're going to even ban dodgeball. Do you guys remember, it was a couple years ago, I think. I don't want to say it was New Jersey, but anyway, they tried to ban any sport that had to do with any kind of a ball at all because someone could get injured. What kind of a country are we going to have if we don't even trust kids to do this? But hang on, there's a few more on the list. We'll get to them in just a minute. Last segment of the show, just ahead.
Welcome to Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe. We have the only menu with fine print, so please read. You must wait to be seated. You cannot choose your own seat because you do not know where is best for you. Seating is arranged to best obtain the appearance of diversity and tolerance. Before you order, please fill out this form showing that you understand our sexual harassment policies. Notice that all of our staff represents an equal share of gender, race, and sexual preferences. In order to achieve this level of fairness, we have more staff than we need. Please give them something to do. You can look at the menu, but your order will be made for you because you do not know what is best for you. Menu in English upon request. The staff is paid no matter what, and all pay is equal to make it fair. Therefore, they have no incentive to work harder for you, so service sucks, and so does the food. Those who do not show up at the diner are sent bills for what they should have spent, and rather high bills for tips as well. When you tip, remember, quality of service does not matter. Tips are split up evenly between the waitresses to make it fair. Rich people who don't really eat in places like this are charged more and must pay for the meals of those who are less fortunate. They also must cover all tips, including their own and those who have not eaten yet but are assumed to be showing up soon. Since no one really wants to eat here, Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe is losing money big time, and so is subsidized by the government. Because most of the money is eaten up by the bureaucracy, very little of it actually gets to the diner. Interestingly, though, more and more money is allocated every year, but less and less seems to make it.
This restaurant is union run. You will be back. We are not asking. Come visit the Liberal Cafe today. Either way, you're paying for it.
It's the last 7 minutes of the program. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. The show is Bold Republic. And again, don't forget, during the course of the weekend, keep checking the site because special features pop up during the course of the weekend. So the reason, and let me explain a little bit about what this show, to me, really is all about. First off, it's about personal liberty, freedom. And government is really supposed to be just there. That's the way government was designed in this country. Government is supposed to just be here for the purpose of protecting your freedoms and liberties. Not to give you free stuff, not to take care of you. That's not what government does. Not in America. We wind up in trouble when we have everything I've been explaining to you during the course of this program. That's when we wind up in trouble. We wind up in trouble when we have the following. I'm going to go back to a list of schools that are banning every little thing. What kind of kids are we going to raise? Or are we raising now? No whining in school, like dodgeball, including, no tag, no soccer for feeling. Well, kids' feelings could be hurt. Did you know about this? We're going back to New Jersey again. They got a real problem. But in New Jersey schools, not only did they ban dodgeball, but they banned any competitive sports because winning and losing means that somebody's feelings might get hurt. So in other words, you're not going to teach them how to handle the feelings of disappointment, of anger, of anguish. You're not going to teach them how to grow up and deal with those feelings. What kind of kids are we raising here? If you protect them from every little thing. Black makeup, Well, a lot of kids go golf at a certain age. Many schools, dress codes say it's just inappropriate and, well, dark and okay. They've banned yoga pants, fine. Skinny jeans, they're banning fashion statement things. All right. Baggy jeans have been banned, especially if you're hanging them below the butt. Okay. I guess I can understand a dress code. Best friends. You're not allowed to have a best friend. Remember all those times back in school you and your best friend would sit in the lunchroom, share snacks, talk to each other, share secrets? All right. Well, in one school in the UK, you're not allowed to have a best friend. Well, I remember talking about this when originally it came around. Their logic was, if you have a best friend in school and that friendship breaks up for some reason, you're going to get your feelings hurt. And they don't want to put you through that, so no best friends. Then how are kids supposed to learn to deal with relationships? Because when you get out into the real world, well, these things happen. All right. Let's see. What's the next one? Dinosaurs were banned? All right. Okay. Well, not literally dinosaurs. The idea of dinosaurs, as well as other ideas, have been banned from the standardized test. New York State, terrified of getting slapped with a lawsuit. New York State Department of Education decided to ban a selection of words that could potentially cause distress among kids. Okay, so let's take a look at what words would cause distress among these wimps that they're raising. Halloween, birthday, dinosaur could potentially upset religious students. Slavery, terrorism, divorce, disease, poverty. Smart, the word smart, can't say smart because some people are not smart. Can't say the word test. Well, because a test is scary. You might scare somebody. These kids are going to walk out into the real world. They're going to come across some scary word out there, and they're not going to know how to deal with it. At this point, the Muslim jihadists have already won because they're scary, aren't they? And nobody's going to have the guts to stand up to them because they never learned how to handle things that hurt, from feelings to physical. Balls are being banned. Talked about this. Literally banned balls in all sports. Okay, Christmas has been banned. No, seriously, in some schools, you just can't even talk about Christmas anymore. The word meep. M-E-E-P. Seriously. It's annoying. I know some kids were using it to be annoying, so it was banned from some school. So there you go. Now, I really want to talk to the people who, I was about to say the people who banned this stuff, but no, let me be serious about that. There is no talking to these people. There's no talking to the people who banned this stuff. There's no talking to them. There's something wrong with them. There's no talking to them. I'd really like to talk to the people out there who hire the people who run the schools, who make rules like this. What is wrong with you that these idiots keep winding up in charge of your school board? And then you finally get upset, and you go to a school board meeting to talk to these people, and you talk to you're blue in the face, and they still don't get it because you're talking to a bunch of idiots that you guys elected the school board. What's wrong here? This is what happens when you don't show up to the meetings. Idiots get elected into the jobs, and then they raise your kids to be a bunch of wimps who will never be able to handle real life. All right. That is the disturbing trend, I guess. I hope it's not in most of America. I really do. That's it for the Friday edition. Again, don't forget boldrepublic.com. During the course of the weekend, I post extra stuff all over the website and on the YouTube page as well. Other than that, I guess I'll have to see you guys on Monday. The cleaning crew will be coming in momentarily as we wrap all of this up for the weekend. Sunday and Saturday also have a special special edition. See you guys.